Okay, go for
Yeah.
it.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Movie Buffs podcast. This is the movie show. We talk about a lot of news and movie information. This is episode 8 already. So we're flying through these episodes. And today is a very special episode because it's around the Deck the Hall of Justice, which is trying to get and raise as much money as we can for AFSP, the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, and especially for the Snyder Cut family for Autumn Snyder. And we have a very special guest today, the author of the hashtag Release the Snyder Cut book and the managing director of CinemaBlend, Mr. Sean O'Connell. How are you doing, Sean?
I'm good. A friend of the show, I like to call myself. Also,
Yeah.
friend of the show.
Thanks very much for coming on, Sean, because this streams is getting everybody in the Snyder Cut community together to try and raise money, of course, and we wanted everybody involved. So people who have been there since day one tweeting about it, people who have come 2 months after, a year after, 2 years after, it doesn't really matter. Everyone's a part of this big family. And you have written a book about the entire experience, and that's how you've come into the family. You got to learn about it. But just a backstory, why did you want to write the book about the Snyder Cut family and the community in the movie?
I want to mention that Viking is rubbing that in my face because everyone tells me I wasn't here from day one. That's the point he's bringing up there. Listen, I was just fascinated with the story. From every angle, the story of what the Release the Snyder Cut movement represented, what it has become, its ups and its downs, some of the things that it has accomplished, some of the obstacles that it had to go through. As someone who covers the film industry on a regular basis as a full-time job, I've never seen anything like this. It's still, to me, one of the most fascinating stories that I think I've ever covered or will ever get a chance to cover because it's so unique in the way that it formed. You have to have so many things happen before you even get to the point where there can be a movement. There has to be an alternate cut. There has to be a group of people who feel like they were wronged because of some types of things that went on behind the scenes at a major studio. You have to have a director who backs the people who are saying we want to see this forbidden version. There's so many factors, and so anyone who's interested at all in how the sausage gets made in terms of blockbusters, this story has everything. And that's before you even get to the personal element of guys like both of you and everyone else who've been part of the movement. You start to hear all of their stories, and they are captivating to me. So I just figured I would try my best to take a pretty big sliver, but still a sliver of the movement and everything that was accomplished, because it's a story that's still unfolding. And I feel like there are multiple other different avenues that it's going to be going down from when we get to the point of the release and everything that will come after it. I tried to capture what I could for that 3-year period of everybody pushing really hard to get it.
Yeah, and it's great. And just check quickly, Lewis, does it sound okay? Everything's okay that way, yeah?
Yeah, everything. Apologies to guys. I have to just quickly play a snippet of the stream just to make sure everything's going. So you might have been listening intently to Sean's lovely answer and then get blasted again by another audio overlay of him talking. But you can never have too much Sean O'Connell.
Yeah, that's good. But today is a big day because we're trying to raise money, of course, for the Autumn Snyder Fund. The big goal was 50,000. I think last time I checked it was around 34,000, and that's continuously raising, which is brilliant. And then the overall goal is 500,000 towards AFSP from the Snyder Cut community, which is absolutely ridiculous from a fan base. And let it continue. But like today, there's numerous streams going on all over the world. We're part of the international stream, the UK. There's some in Spain and stuff like that, and then North America. And Bray Fisher was just on a stream, the Poindexter Lounge. Zack Snyder will be on a stream later on. So all these big people who've been involved in this the last few years are coming together for a bigger cause, something that's bigger than the movie. But I wanted to ask you as well, Sean, you getting involved in the community. And of course, every fandom, even Star Wars, Marvel, there's a good and a bad side. But for me, the good side of this community outweighs the bad. Do you kind of feel that as well when you look at it on the surface?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, without a doubt. And I've interviewed a lot of people who were tied to the movement, both on the professional side, just people who volunteer on a day-to-day basis. And the majority of the people who I spoke with, actually, I would say a full 100% of the people who I spoke with were genuine good people who just wanted to get the word out about the Snyders, how they felt the Snyders, Debbie and Zack and their entire crew were wronged. It really was a push for artistic integrity. And one of the things that's really unusual to see in the bit of the the movement that is negative or that causes fights, that raises these ripples, they are all largely anonymous. Like you see certain names, you see whether they're burner accounts, who knows, like, you know, these rumors, and none of them were ever like, I kind of feel like I took a lot of time early on in the research of the movement to say, like, who do I need to talk to? You know, like, who are the people behind it? Who are the people responsible? And you heard a lot of the same names. You heard Fiona, you heard of Chris Vinaldo, you heard of the TPZ crew. Sean, I tracked you down. You know, like, these are the people who everybody who was associated with the movement said, oh, you have to get their story. But I never was told, go speak to fill in the blank, who ends up becoming someone who's a rebel rouser now at this point, you know? So I honestly felt like the people who I needed to speak to were really generous people. And the hardest thing to get them to do was to go on record for what they had accomplished, because they didn't want the story to be about them. It took the longest time for me to convince key people in the movement. They were like, no, it's all about Zack. It's all about Zack. It's about the movie. It's about the movie. It's about the money raised for AFSP. It's not about us. You know, like, we are the silent army working behind them. And partly through, I said to a number of key people, I was like, look, I totally understand. And they were also along the way, they would be like, well, you should still talk to this person. Or they were feeding me information and telling me to verify it, but they didn't want to get credited. And I would say to them, look, eventually you guys have to understand that, like, the story kind of needs to be told, and your part needs to be like, you guys did do this, you know, like, I know you don't want to take the irony of that. The argument in the fan base community is that everyone's out for clout. Like, these people were pushing it away at every possible turn. And I had to convince them, like, go on record. This is a huge story and you guys have done a lot. You know, let it be known. No one's going to think that you're trying to steal focus away from anything. So I would honestly say that, like, 100% of the people that I spoke to in this fan base were extremely positive and focused on the goal. And the interesting part was that while I did all those interviews to get to that point, to find out about the thing, none of them believed at any point when I spoke to them that the movie was coming. It was only after the book was written in its entirety that the movie got announced. And so I really do feel like I got a pure representation of them still in the fight, you know, them still pushing to get something that they didn't know they were going to get at this point. And so it was a happy accident. And I've said this on multiple streams before. If I dove into this story to try to tell about the movement and everybody came across as really awful, then I would have wrote a book about, here's this awful entitled fan base, you know, that really did irritate everybody. But that wasn't the story. It really wasn't. Yeah. And so I've shared the book with a group of people who, you know, I was trying to get their opinions about how it works. And some of the people I sent it to were significantly not anti-Snyder, but just like they believed that the movement was, what is the toxic fan base, right? Like, that's the idea. Like, and all of them have come back to me with the critique of just, hey, this book really changed my mind. Like, the book honestly has made me view the movement in a completely different light. And I was like, well, good. That's kind of what I hoped, because I don't think I'm going to be, well, no, I guess it will educate a lot of people who probably had a closed mind. And maybe once they understand the people in the movement and why they personally got involved, I hope it swings more people over to the side of ultimately to the side of the movement, so that they can continue to raise funds for AFSP. Because as you can see, you know, we're months after the May 20th announcement, and these guys aren't going anywhere. You know, like, they're all still here, and we're all still fighting for a cause, because they realize that the mission of AFSP and the passion of the Snyders isn't going anywhere. So why would they?
Yeah, and just before I let Lewis jump in for a question, like, when you did contact me over a year ago now about the book, I want to say that you were very respectful. I got a follow from Sean O'Connell, the guy I listened to on CinemaBlend, the podcast, and I was like, that's pretty cool. Maybe he looked at some a movie opinion I had on Twitter and thought, that sounds cool. But it was for the book, and you were respectful, and you emailed me and all that kind of stuff. And I want to say that absolutely brilliant. And guys, the link to the Autumn Snyder Fund is in the description. Go to that and donate whatever you can. Lewis, any questions? What do you take from all this?
Nah, no questions. I think we can basically end the show there. I think that's a pretty
All
good
right.
show. 10
Thanks,
minutes.
guys. I appreciate it.
We give the negative side a plug, so they'll be
Yeah.
happy.
I guess one of the things that I love to hear that you were talking about is this kind of the very specific traits of this fandom that I don't think I've seen anywhere else. But do you think kind of moving forward that the Snyder Cut movement is basically setting the precedent for future treatment of directors? Do you think maybe studios maybe are going to think a little bit, maybe think twice before they decide to start chopping away at a movie?
Yes, 100%. And I've seen you guys change the way other people are approaching. There's 3 movements that are currently active right now, and they're all associated with the Snyder Cut. One is the Ayer Cut, the David Ayer Cut, which is pushing really hard for Suicide Squad. One is the Alita Battle Angel fan base, which is trying to get a sequel made of that. And they are pages that they are taking from your playbook include getting key members of the production team involved. Like the Alita Army is going after John Landau, the producer, really hard and getting him on their side. They're making waves with Rodriguez so that when they got a re-release in theaters, Rodriguez, James Cameron, John Landau, all these guys tweeted along with it. These are things that you guys did first. Like they're trailblazer things that these movements take a look at and they say, oh, it's possible. You know, there's on the Spider-Man side, people are trying to get Mark Webb's cut of the Amazing Spider-Man movies released. And they are adapting the release the web cut. Like it doesn't exist without Viking down here. It just doesn't. Like he's the guy who did it. And so I think, yes, you're driving future fan bases that have even a foothold in a possibility. They're putting it forward. And yes, I do honestly believe that your passion has convinced studio heads or executives. Now it's not feasible all the time, but they will, I think ahead to say, okay, well, beyond the theatrical release, maybe we have something larger that's available for streaming. It used to be the home video market. Like, okay, we'll release this on a Blu-ray DVD. It'll be a director's cut. It'll be packaged as an anniversary type thing, whatever. Now streaming is so prevalent, and now more people are going over to subscription services, and all of these services are fighting so hard for original content that if you can tap into those fan bases and you can power their, like it's crass to think that it's from a business standpoint, but if they can convince you to come on over and invest in their subscription service because they're providing you something that you've been hoping to get, yeah, I think that this could be a real sea changer. And I don't think anybody's downplaying what was accomplished here, either in the fandom or on the business side.
I fully agree. What would you think would have all played out if they kind of did a BVS route of shortly after the film came out, they went, oh, here's a director's cut, and they released, say, the 214 cut,
right,
which we all knew that was Zack's plan. If he hadn't stepped down, it would have been the 214, still kind of heavily compromised. Do you think there kind of would have been maybe if Zack had dropped something on Vero after the 214 cut got released and goes, maybe there's a little bit more? Do you think there would have still been the fervor that you see with the movement nowadays?
Hard to say. I would guess less. Because I think a chunk of the fan base that has been fighting this amount of time or fought for the 3 hard years were fighting because they didn't see anything. And if they got some of the 214, if they got some of Zack's vision restored, it probably would have gone down as one of those Hollywood stories of just like, hey, what could that have been? But I don't know if there would have been quite the passion to fight for the full restoration. This is to repeat what I said at the beginning of this stream. Like, this is so unique. There are so many factors that happened that led to this point. And it's, in hindsight, you step back from it and you also say to yourself, like, I don't know how much longer it could have gone. It's almost like after 3 years, there was a breaking point. The phrase I loved using is shit or get off the pot. Like, Hollywood either had to say to you guys, all right, we're going to do it. Or if like maybe another year of the back and forth, of you guys trying to get their attention and them sort of playing hard to get, maybe another year before key members of the fan base would have just given up, or not given up. That's the wrong way to put it. Might have just gotten down by the fact that they weren't making any progress, or some of the infighting in the movement would have truly splintered.
Yeah.
Like the movement is splintered now in some key points, and maybe that division would have led into. Honestly, I think everything came together when it did, And it was super important that it did at that moment, because stepping back and taking a look at it, I'm not quite sure how much longer it could have lasted.
That's fair enough.
When you talk about the collapse of the kind of the divide, like in a way, it was probably always going to happen, but it's good that it happened after the movie got announced. You know what I mean? Like we've all worked together, we've all come together when there was events on and stuff like that, and then the other stuff after that, people would bitch and moan to each other and stuff like that. But I think you probably have that in most fandoms. You see that Star Wars fandom was divided for a very long time with The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, and now The Mandalorian has seemed to put everybody kind of back in a good mood for Star Wars. But it's a fascinating story to look at from the outside and look at the movement from different people. Like there's people who are really good at streams, there's people who are really good at artwork. There's so many talented people in the Snyder Cut community that work together. People that make like even GIFs. I think it's brilliant. And for someone to come in and write a book as well, not everybody could do that. So
yeah,
each person has an individual story, and I'm glad that you're going to be able to tell it in the book in a way. And I'm eager to read the book as well, because I'm sure there's stuff I don't know about as well, even though I feel like I'm up to date, but I'm sure there's stuff I don't know, to hear different stories from other people. And maybe for people who I have kind of a bad look at, or maybe we fall online or stuff like that, I might put myself into their shoes and see what they were going through and how they were doing stuff. So I'm looking forward to the book in that aspect. But there's been a lot of talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League now being put back into a movie instead of a series.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to get your thoughts on it as well, because in my thoughts was the pressure was kind of on Zack Snyder's Justice League to attract subscribers to HBO Max. That's kind of probably why it was a series, so to build up the hype, the engagement, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But now, since Matrix, Dune, Godzilla v Kong, Wonder Woman have now helped with that subscriber goal, do you think that's why it's a movie, and do you think the pressure is now off Zack Snyder's Justice League to be a success with subscribers?
Oh, yeah. There's definitely less pressure on it to be the feature that drags people over to HBO Max. Because, and I wonder if we'll ever see numbers. I'm sure eventually we'll see numbers in terms of how many people signed up for HBO Max following the news that all the 2021 movies were going to go there. Because then you think about it, they're reaching outside just the DC universe. You know, they're getting people who are interested in all those other franchises. And I'm sure a lot of people decided at the moment, okay, it's time for me to finally plunk down and get that subscription. I'm really fascinated because these things sort of happened very quickly, in that first they made the announcement of the day and date for big time movies, of like things that were going to go to theaters are now also going to come to HBO Max. And after a day or two, that's when my brain sort of clicked and said like, oh, wait a second, Zack's was going to go to streaming. Does that mean it's also going to go to theaters? But the thing was that Zack's was going to be episodic, the way that they announced it, for 1 hour series, 1 hour chapters. Nobody knew whether it was going to be dropped all at once, so for people to binge, or whether it was going to be once a week. I personally assumed it was going to be once a week.
Yeah.
Now that it's going to, but Zack, I think, had said early on that he still was going to put together the 4 hour cut that he potentially could release on DVD later, because he knows that this fan base wants something collectible, right? They want something to have on a shelf. I want something I want to write back here, I want it as part of the collection. And I assumed that was going to come after, but now he's a little bit painted himself into a very interesting corner, because we were having this conversation on this show that I do with Hannah for the for CinemaBlend, this Zack Snyder, the Snyder Cut weekly series of, are you going to give fans the ability to go see it theatrically on a weekly basis? Like,
yeah,
if you're going to do it episodically, do you put it out in the theaters the same time it drops on the HBO Max, and then a fan has the chance to go, to the theater to go see it if they want to? What if fans aren't able to go to the theater? There's still a lot of places where by March, some theaters are going to be closed. You have to deal with an international market that doesn't have access to HBO Max in some places. I know that they're quickly trying to break down all those barriers. They did the Roku deal, and they are figuring out the ways to get it to stream as many people as possible. But nothing is going to be as perfect as the old worldwide distribution of putting everything out in theaters. You're going to have some people who are going to be able to stream it before people see it in a theater. And so I don't know how they solve that. I kind of think personally, I would like to see it one at a time in the ways that he wants it, and then have the ability to go back and see it in the 4 hour cut all together after the fact. And sometimes I think with any other fan base, the studio would argue like, but I don't know if they would come to the theater if they already saw all 4 episodes. And that's just foolish with this fan base. Like, they're going to go. They're going to support it, and they're going to go see it in as many formats as possible. I don't know what they're going to do. The fact that he's remixing it for IMAX, and the fact that he's going the extra mile to make it look right on the big screen means that I'm certain there's going to be a theatrical component. A lot of it's just like what theaters can be open and where can fans go to see it.
Yeah, you're not going to be wanting to see this amazing 4-hour IMAX movie on something this size. Yeah,
No.
I can't really see. Is that dark side? There's too much going on in one frame for a tiny screen.
It's like when Scorsese said, you can watch The Irishman on an iPad. Don't watch it on an iPad.
Yeah, exactly. And Zach knows, like, he's teasing that photo of the IMAX shot of Dark Side, with people in a theater. Like, you're salivating, thinking of like, oh, I got to see this on the big screen. But at the same time, he kind of understands. I made this joke to Patty Jenkins when we had her on the Real Blend podcast, and she was talking about the post-credit scenes, which they didn't include for the press. And she's like, they're going to be part of the theatrical release. It'll be on December 25th. You'll be able to see it then. We're going to attach it, and that way fans can enjoy it. And I said, Patty, you should make it that people have to go to the theaters in order to see it. Like, don't just put it on the HBO Max, make people go to the movies. And she said, it would be great if we could. We just can't right now. Like, that's just not responsible. And as a fan, of course, I'm always like, go to the theater. But she's level-headed, and I'm sure people above her were telling her, like, look, you can't drive people to the theaters if they don't feel safe, or, if the numbers are different wherever they are. People are trying to really walk a very difficult line right now between getting fans hyped to go see something they've been anticipating on the biggest screen possible versus in a lot of areas, it's just not safe right now. And by March, if and when the Snyder Cut comes out, we don't have a date yet, but everybody's hearing March. If things are much better, then the plan could shift in a different direction. But I guarantee Zach wants it seen on the biggest screen possible.
And to just give an example, like we talked about what is the right strategy. Do you put it in theaters, then HBO Max? Like right now, Wonder Woman was released here on the 16th of December, so I got to go opening night to see it. Lewis is going in a few days, but it was released on the 16th. And then it's available on PVOD here on the 13th of January.
Okay.
And then in America, you guys have to wait until the 25th of December for HBO Max and theatrical experience. So would they treat Zack Snyder's Justice League like a theatrical movie and do the same thing? Like, what makes the Snyder Cut more special than Wonder Woman to like put the Snyder Cut out at the same time as the US when Wonder Woman's coming here now on the 16th while you guys have to wait 9 days? What do you think about that?
I don't know, because I have not heard of any real big instances of piracy with Wonder Woman 1984. I got to assume it's probably everywhere if it's been playing in theaters, certain places. I do know I read a write-up of what the post-credit scene is, so I know people have seen it and they're starting to put out there. It's just, how much does Zach want to keep spoilers? And how many spoilers there are definitely going to be new things added to it. And there's going to be things that people don't want to read about before they get a chance to see it. So yeah, I don't know. That's why I said when I mentioned he paid himself into a really complicated corner, these are all questions that I'm sure they're having, and I don't know what the easy answer is to it, because he has fans. The fact that we're on an international stream right now as part of a full streaming day, his fans are global, and he wants to. I've heard from just the small sliver of people who are interested in the book, they're from everywhere. And as it was rolling out and the pre-sales were going out, people in Italy and India and Germany, they all wanted to find out, like, how can I order it, kind of thing. And this is a small book that, whoever's interested in. You're talking about Zack's Justice League. There's people all around the globe who are demanding it, in the best possible format. And I'm sure they're trying to really wrestle with how they do it right now.
So yeah, I wanted to, given that we're still on the topic of the streaming service thing, obviously this is kind of massively dependent on COVID and how that is ameliorated going forward. What do you see as the future of the DC universe as a whole in terms of distribution? Do you see it being a Snyderverse HBO Max type deal and everything else is theatrical? Or do you see them pushing forward with this continued kind of 50-50 HBO Max and the cinemas approach for everything? Or is there something that... obviously, it's a very hard thing to guess, but do you have any ideas as to maybe what would you prefer, I guess?
I would prefer that they did the Snyderverse on HBO Max, to be honest with you. And I write a lot in the book about how when DC was trying to build their cinematic universe, I felt like they were chasing after what Marvel had established, and that it was a mistake. because they should have just carved out their own thing and not tried to do the shared cinematic universe. But I think that they should take a page from Marvel in terms of what Marvel just did in terms of the Disney Plus shows that they're rolling out, and what Star Wars is doing in terms of the Disney Plus shows. Star Wars is succeeding in longer form storytelling right now, and they're not rushing to get something into a theater in order to meet a release date kind of thing. Someone's coming to them. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau came to them with the idea of The Mandalorian, and they got 2 seasons to map it out. Give DC storytellers time on HBO Max, to map out a story. Don't rush it into theaters because you feel like you need to have a Blue Beetle movie, like have someone come to you with an idea and develop it properly on HBO Max. You have the streaming services. Marvel announced all those projects. They're going to have a healthy mix of things going to streaming service and going to theaters. Some will inform the others. Kevin Feige talked about the fact that WandaVision is going to feed into the Spider-Man 3 movie, which is going to feed into Doctor Strange. And they're going to sort of do the multiverse going through that route. So you do have the ability as DC to start a story in The Flash, let's say, and have it skew to a series that carries over into an HBO Max series if you want to. Think long-term, think big picture. Use streaming to your advantage, and allow some of those things to creatively breathe. If you told me that Ben's Batman was going to come back, and he was given the opportunity to do a 2-hour movie or a 8-part series, give me the 8-part series. Like I want to see that world developed by him, but have it not interfere with what Matt Reeves is going to do. I think if they're smart, and if they think long term, they figure out how to make the streaming and the theatrical work together. And not to say do what Marvel's doing, but I think Marvel and Star Wars are smart right now the way that they are letting their stories and their universes evolve. And there's more room to breathe when you have a streaming service.
I agree fully.
Yeah, even Kevin Feige said there, I think today or yesterday, that streaming is the future. And I think that even Jason Kilar as well, in a lot of his press releases, he uses the word fans a lot. He uses the word streaming a lot, because that is the future. And maybe Marvel see that as well, and Disney and Star Wars, they see the future as streaming, but they didn't come out and openly say it like Warner Brothers did, because Warner Brothers kind of peed off a lot of directors and stuff like that. I think Disney will go the same direction, but they'll make sure everything won't get to be bad press release and stuff like that. What was your opinion on the Warner Brothers situation and pissing off Nolan and all those guys?
It's been fascinating because the line that's separated television and movies was strong forever, and now it's non-existent, right? One of the better shows I watched this year was The Undoing, which is on HBO, and it had Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant, who by any other standards are movie stars, but here they're doing a drama, a multi-part drama for HBO. Big Little Lies is another HBO show that had Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman, Meryl Streep, Zoe Kravitz, huge movie stars. They go to TV now. What I think Warner Brothers did wrong was that they have filmmakers who agreed to do projects that they were going to have be films. Denis and his Dune movie, Nolan and Tenet, Patty and Wonder Woman, of course. Yeah. But if moving forward, you sign storytellers, directors, and tell them that you're working on a streaming service, it's different than just turning around and saying, oh, that Godzilla movie that you worked on for several years, we're just going to put it on TV. That's a slap in the face. And I do understand why they did it. And again, so much of it's COVID, right? So much of it's just like, we're not going to be in theaters at capacity for any time soon. So they probably could have handled it better internally. Maybe reached out to all their filmmakers, told them what was going to be happening, dealt with some of the issues before announcing it. But they did what they did. But that doesn't mean going forward that they can't get filmmakers, directors, storytellers who would want to work in long form if given the ability to say, we're going to do a Green Lantern Corps movie, and you're going to get 10 episodes, a Green Lantern Corps series. You're going to get 10 episodes to map out an entire story. And here's the budget. That what used to be a TV budget versus a film budget, that's gone kind of now.
Yeah.
If they're investing in the right project, they're pouring money into it, because these streaming services are getting a ton from their subscriber base. So all what used to be normal is now completely abnormal. So
yeah, and the TV games completely it takes me back to a few years ago for True Detective season 1. You had Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson doing a show, which was brilliant. But that was kind of when it started that tide started changing a good bit. You got these massive movie stars coming, but if the money's right and if the story's right, I'm sure they'll all go to streaming a little bit more.
Absolutely. Similarly, when Netflix first got off the ground, they lured Adam Sandler and Will Smith away from Sony, and those guys were making, I want to say, like 50 million a project, at that point, and it became the norm for them to go over there and just get carte blanche, tell what you want to tell, sort of thing. And Sandler turned it into a couple of hits and a couple of misses, sort of deal. But that was like the blueprint. Like all the other stars started looking and saying, "Oh, you can go do that now," sort of thing. And at the same time, the theaters started to get clogged up with blockbusters, with IPs. If you weren't a comic book property or you weren't a Star Wars movie, it was harder and harder to get a screen. So where were the Hugh Grants and Nicole Kidmans of the world going to go? Of course, they were going to chase after stronger material that they're getting in forms of showrunners and storytellers taking their stuff to streaming. So it is a captivating change of the tide in the industry, and I love it. I've been tracking it on a daily basis, and it's there's still so many twists and turns still to come with where we're going.
I was gonna say, like, if you're ever concerned about, I don't know, Disney peaking at Endgame, or Marvel, I should say, peaking at Endgame, and then you just watch the Investor Day, and they're like, hey, here's like 400 Star Wars shows. You're not gonna have any free time next year, but you're gonna have all of this to watch. Like, there's this renewed, like, I think it's an admirable effort, even if it is maybe in some cases it might be quantity over quality, but just to be able to say that we are fully backing streaming, because I think everyone looked at Tenet and saw that as this like microcosm of the future of entertainment. If we just keep forcing things into the cinemas, people value their lives over a Nolan film. Surprisingly, I didn't think that was a thing, but apparently they do.
Yeah. And the thing about it too with this subject matter is that Zack is such a theatrical guy. Like Zack wants his stuff shown in theaters, and I think that he'll move as many mountains as he can, and Warner Brothers will move them, and Warner Media will move them to give him his version that he wants. But at the same time, everybody has to, like, you can push it as far as you can, but you have to stop at some point and say, like, is it still safe for the fans? And that's what I think everybody's kind of wrestling with right now.
It's an interesting point as well, because we're all kind of stuck at home in a pandemic, and usually you would think no comic book material to watch, but the next 6 months are going to be very interesting for comic book fans. Like I love Marvel as well. I got my Avengers poster there, I got a Guardians one there, I've got a DC one down here. But January, WandaVision's coming. March, the Winter Soldier and Falcon is coming with Zack Snyder's Justice League, supposedly. Loki coming in May, maybe Black Widow as well. Like, this is 6 months in a pandemic where people are stuck at home. We're going to have stuff to watch, which I think is a great credit to Warner Brothers and a great credit to Marvel that this is happening. Are you excited for the future of comic book movies, even though we're in a pandemic?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, so much so. Because I think that the smarter people have figured out how to evolve. They're rolling with these punches, and they're still figuring out now. It helps that a lot of them were already into pre-production and production when all of this stuff happened. I can't wait to see what Matt Reeves makes of the Batman, because of all the blows that they were dealt kind of during their production. I wonder if it's truly going to be the full vision that he encompassed, because I don't know how much he had to sort of adjust on the fly. I'm sure he'll still deliver a tremendous film. But yeah, one of the benefits of this horrific year that we just went through is that so many things got pushed into 2021 and even some of 2022, that it's going to be a condensed and almost ridiculous schedule by the time things ramp up and get going. And in a way, I understand that Wonder Woman 1984 almost had to be the sacrificial lamb of saying, like, okay, nobody wants to be the first movie to go to streaming and theaters at the same time, and we know that not as many people are going to see it in theaters as possible. But if you don't get that wheel spinning again, then things will never get back to some sort of normal. If they again said, like, Wonder Woman's going to go to May, Black Widow would probably move to get away from that in May, and then everything shifts back further. Fans, more than anything, they want this stuff to play so that they can discuss it, that they can get passionate about it, that they can. I'm amazed, and I admire the fan bases who have kept the enthusiasm in this lull, because there hasn't been much to discuss. There's been there's been things to speculate over and to sort of project out kind of thing. But yeah, I think this year has the potential to be one of the most mind-blowing years that we've ever seen in terms of content, providing that all of it's good. We kind of blanket assume that this stuff is all going to be really good. What if something like WandaVision rolls the dice on some really weird storytelling and it falls on its face? Now, the good news is there's something right behind it, that's going to sort of distract. But the law of averages says that a few of these things are going to have to start tanking, because we've been eating very, very well as comic book adaptation fans lately, that even the things that they don't miss the way that, real stinkers did back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, when something really was a disaster. It sucked all the air out of the room and made studio heads nervous, like, oh shoot, should we not do this kind of thing? But
well, I think we may have a little bit of experience hearing about studios getting nervous, maybe just a little bit.
Yeah,
it might be a whole book being written about it, but it's nothing.
Yeah, I was thinking more like a X-Men Origins Wolverine, they managed to take down multiple characters like at once. But again, even that movie rebounded pretty quickly, because Mangold ended up making the Wolverine film, and then he succeeded with Logan. So
yeah,
the rebound is quicker than it used to be. That's for sure.
Also, have you got speaking of kind of progressing into the future, have you got what's on the top of your list for Marvel and for DC moving forward? What are your I am definitely watching this?
Well, I mean, I'm fascinated by all the stuff that's going on with Spider-Man 3.
Yeah,
I cannot wait to see what that, and I have so many questions, just so many questions, because if they are truly swinging for the fence with a multiverse film that starts to pull in the existing, Raimi and Webb franchises, I don't know if trying to do it in this next film is too much.
Yeah.
It feels like that's too much. That seems like something you're supposed to build toward over the course of several films. And I don't know if this is a case of the speculation media getting ahead of the curve, and confirming all these people, to let people down when they finally go see it in the theaters. The fact that Marvel's been so tight-lipped about what it is, that's somewhat fascinating. I'm of the impression that if you are doing a multiverse Spider-Man movie and you're going to involve those other two franchises, announce it, give it a proper announcement, bring all three of those guys out onto a stage and say, hey, we're doing it. Now leave us alone and let us go do it. See you in the theaters in December. But the fact that they've been so because you won't keep that secret. If it's really going to be the case, you won't keep it secret. So come out and tell us that you're doing it. So from Marvel's side, that has been the most fascinating. DC, I mean, I'm seriously fascinated in what Andy Muschietti's doing with The Flash. I cannot wait to see how their version of a Flashpoint story plays out. And I kind of think it's amazing that they're bringing Keaton and Ben back for their Batmans. That's amazing to me. So yeah, that's, like I said, we've been eating tremendously as comic fans.
Do you see I mean, this is something we talked a lot about in our last episode, just because obviously we're both big fans of Ben Affleck's Batman. Do you see him appearing on a HBO Max series as being contingent on Zack Snyder's Justice League, or do you think he's gonna maybe wait and see how he's received in the Flash film as a more cinematic return, or where do you, just generally speaking, where do you kind of stand on it? Do you think maybe he's just waiting to pull the trigger, or do you think he's actually maybe no, it's not gonna happen? It's pure speculation unless you have some insider knowledge, but I'm not trying anything with that.
No, I don't. But what I would say is, I would think that Ben has had a lot of conversations about what's going to happen, and he might even have a deal in place. He might know where it's going to go. But I don't think it's going to be dependent on anything that happens with the Snyder Cut, or even the Flash. I think if he has a story that's strong enough, which we all believe and know that he does, and if he truly wants to dedicate his time to it, then he can make it happen. Like, I don't think that, like, if the Snyder Cut isn't well received for whatever reason, or that they don't think that he's handled well in the Flash movie, if he wants to do the solo Batman story that he was going to do, he'll get the ability to do it. I think it's just a lot of, it's the time commitment, it's the mental commitment to that role and to that franchise. I think it was pretty draining on him when he went through it, not just the way that it was analyzed in the media and with the fan base, but it took its toll. These are not easy roles. Not everybody gets embraced fully, you know, by the fan base for what they put forward. And there's a lot of people who love Ben as Batman in BVS, but if you guys remember at the time, like, there was plenty of people who critiqued him and talked about, you know, muscle bound Batman, or my Batman doesn't kill, and all this. Like, you can't not hear that when you're the guy playing it. So nowadays he gets a ton of praise, but it was really hard back then. It just, the fact that he's signing up for a couple other director parts makes me wonder it might not happen right away. But sometimes those announcements don't materialize. You know, they get announced and so you hear someone's going to do X project, and it just gets put on the back burner because something like HBO Max backs up a truck filled with money to your door and says, look, our streams for the Snyder Cut were through the roof and we want to keep this going at all costs. So what do you want from us, Ben Affleck? How do we make this a thing? And then like, that's the only way it'll change anything, is that Ben will have a little bit more negotiating power if the Snyder Cut is received really, really well, and if it proves to, because ultimately it's a business and the numbers drive everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if with Disney's Investor Day, if that kind of maybe had some alarm bells ringing, and I don't know if it just kind of necessitates people to then go out and say, you know, we've given James Gunn his series. What else do we have that we know that? Well, do we have anything that we know people are wanting? And I can't help but think that an Affleck show, or maybe a Black Canary show, because obviously Journey was loved and Birds of Prey, I can see that coming. Obviously, I think it's being an idealist for them to just go, hey, we're going to do some kind of ad hoc stream and just go, yeah, here's like 30 DC shows that we're going to announce that we totally had planned and greenlit before Disney's Investor Day.
Well, that goes back to when the executives announced 10 films, like a slate of 10 films that were going to be coming, and they involved such things as, you know, Cyborg and Green Lantern Corps and things that haven't happened. Like, it's a dangerous thing to announce too far in advance. It's a dangerous thing to announce too many things that people don't want. I hope that Warner Media and DC are not reacting to Marvel's and Disney's announcement slate. Like, I still truly want them to announce the things that make sense for them, you know, that work in their universe. And there's no project, honestly, unless Zack says he's going to continue a Justice League story, there's no project that makes sense, total sense in that universe, than to say Ben continuing his Batman stuff. Ben doing more Batman or Henry doing more Superman. Those two seem to be neck and neck to me, because I think Ezra's going to get a chance to fulfill his on the theatrical side. They've already confirmed that. A Wonder Woman story continuing forward could probably go on the back burner for a little while now, since she just had her movie come out and she's going to be part of the Snyder Cut. Aquaman 2 we know is going to theaters. The Cyborg movie, I'm not quite sure. I haven't heard any real progress about that. But Henry kind of seems like he's chomping at the bit to keep going in terms of playing Superman. And Ben feels like he has a story and a script that he could pursue. So I feel like those two are like A and B in terms of ready to go if HBO Max doubles down.
Do you think it's more possible, like The Rock and Henry Cavill have the same agent, the Rock's ex-wife is the agent for both of them. Do you think going on in the future, the biggest chance of Henry Cavill coming back is not for a Man of Steel sequel, it's more for Black Adam versus Superman? Because I think there's an unbelievable marketing campaign there that could be done. I think The Rock probably sees it as well. The Rock versus a god, you know, Rock versus Superman. Like that's WWE shit right there. You could market that like crazy. Do you think maybe at the end of Black Adam or tease or in the future we could get Black Adam, The Rock v Superman in a movie?
I mean, I don't only think, I pray, because you're exactly right. It's a marketing dream. And yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you? That just seems too obvious. And they've both shared pictures on Instagram of the two of them hanging out and shooting the breeze. And how much of it is just them spitballing, like, wouldn't it be cool if kind of thing? But that's the world that we live in nowadays. Like, to go back to Spider-Man just for a minute, I'm sure that people sat around in boardrooms and like, wouldn't it be cool if, you know, we could get Toby and Andrew to come back for a movie? And now all of a sudden, you know, these are rumors that happen. So when you mention Henry coming over to play Superman in a Black Adam movie where he fights The Rock, like, that seems so obvious that, like, I'm kind of stunned it's not released and, you know, dated already. Like, that's not on the 2023 calendar. It's just that these things take so much time, you know, to get through. But the Black Adam movie is kind of set. It's not contemporary, right? It's set in the dark past or deep past.
I believe so.
I think it's going to touch on the origin, and I don't know if it goes into modern day then or what happens, but we're definitely seeing the origin of Black Adam. I know that for sure.
Okay, so if it gets to the point where, like, toward the end of the film, it ends up contemporary, then it would be amazing to see Henry show up. And, you know, with all due respect to David Sandberg, maybe course correct that horrible way that they cut off the head of Superman at the end of Shazam. Listen, do the right thing.
I think what's kept Henry as a possibility of being Superman might have been The Rock, might have been that agent connection, because The Rock says, no, don't recast him. I want him for a movie. And The Rock probably does have that pull when it comes to those kind of things. Like, he is probably one of the last action movie stars. Would I be wrong by saying that? Like, that can attract people by his name alone to the box office. Like, I know, like, the Skyscraper movies and Rampage didn't make major money, but if he wasn't in them, they probably wouldn't have made F all, you know?
They wouldn't got made. They wouldn't have gotten made at all.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing, though, that I was watching, okay, so before I came on the stream, I was watching Captain America, the Winter Soldier. And I was watching the bridge fight, you know, that's takes place between Bucky and Cap. And one thing that I was lamenting, it was very funny that we got to this conversation, is that at least with Captain America, Winter Soldier, it feels like a Captain America movie, right? Like, there's other characters involved, Falcon's there, Black Widow, but it is a Captain America movie. To the point where when we got to Captain America Civil War, it was an Avengers, you know, 1.5 movie because everybody was involved. And going forward on the Marvel side, briefly, you know, Spider-Man's getting his movie, but Doctor Strange is going to be in it. The Guardians are getting another movie, but it's probably going to have Thor. You know, like, we're getting away from just movies that are traditionally structured around that character. You know, Wonder Woman 1984 is a Wonder Woman movie, tried and true. I don't want to get too far away from, like, I want Henry to have a Superman sequel. Yeah, that's a true Superman story. You know, I don't love the, well, we can bring Superman in, but he's going to be part of the Black Adam movie that might also have Shazam, and it's they all have to fit in kind of thing. Or, yeah, you're going to get Ben back as Batman, but he's going to be part of Flash, and Michael Keaton's going to be there also, and maybe we can fit Cyborg in too. It's like, can I just have a Flash movie? You know, like, I would love just, I do somewhat miss a little bit the standalone movies that are about that hero, you know, where if you pick up a comic and you want to read a Batman comic, it's a Batman adventure. And it's not Batman by way of 4 other characters that they had to bring in. So I don't know if we're ever going to get back to that or if it's just shared universes from here on out, but we shall see.
Well, I know we're approaching the final 10 minutes before you have to shoot off to another stream. So I think I'd love, I mean, we went on like a hell of a rabbit hole here, which was really nice. So half of my questions were all about the book, so it just completely derailed, but that was good. It's a good sign of a nice conversation. I kind of thought it'd be best just to wrap up the last kind of 5 or 10 minutes while you're here. Maybe just for the people who don't know, if you could maybe talk about what was that kind of light bulb or eureka moment where you're like, I have to write this book, and I'm gonna do it. But was there anything that kind of, any specific event that coincided with that, or you just wake up one day and like, I'm writing this?
Well, the one that pushed me over the top that said, like, sit down and do the book was, I'd already been thinking about it for a while. When I was in San Diego in 2019, and I ran across all the work that was being done on behalf of Project Comic-Con, and saw the bus stops wrapped with the posters and saw the t-shirts being passed out, and realizing that this movement had grown to that level where you guys were taking over San Diego basically. And then shortly after that was the New York Comic-Con, the Times Square billboard. Those were 2 things that was like, by that point, I was sort of scratching out notes, and I had been in touch with a guy who was a friend of a friend, who had always been pushing the Snyder Cut. And I started asking him a bunch of questions, and he was filling in a lot of the gaps. But even from him, I was getting that initial hesitancy of just like, hey man, we've been burned by the press a bunch of times, and I don't really know how many people will want to talk, but maybe I can go ahead for you and tell them that you're interested and you just want to ask questions. But right around that time, and I write this is my intro paragraph for the book. I took off a bunch of days from CinemaBlend, which is the website that I run, and I was going to put together a sample chapter, because it's better when you're shopping the book around. If you have a sample chapter, you can show to the people what your writing style is like. And I took 3 days of vacation from CinemaBlend just to dedicate fully to writing the book. And that's unusual, because first off, I don't take a lot of vacation days. But secondly, I was like taking them specifically to like sit down and work on a book. And I had not done that before. I've never done that before. And I was like, okay, I'm going to carve out this time and I'm going to really focus and be serious about writing a book. And as those days were approaching, I got an invitation to go to the set of Army of the Dead in Atlantic City. And I thought, like, that's ridiculous. Like, here I'm going to take these days to write about a Zack Snyder project, and I get invited to the set of Zack Snyder's movie. And I honestly stand by the fact that I feel like, and this has happened to me over the course of my life. I've had a number of instances where things have happened for a reason. And I've stopped and looked at them in those moments and think like, okay, that's the bigger cosmic finger pointing and saying like, do this, that's the thing. And that was a huge cosmic push, not to sound like a, bizarro cosmic person. But that was the universe saying like, yeah, this is the right path to go down. And while we were on that set, having Zack say to us that he considered Justice League to be a gaping hole in his filmography, and that he would never stop people from fighting for it because he thought that would diminish the amount of work and time and attention that the fan base had put into getting his cut restored. He almost, in the moment, solidified a lot of questions that I had in my own mind of, why doesn't he just tell them to stop? Like I always thought like he had the ability to say to the fan base at any given moment, like, this is great that you guys want this. I love that you're so passionate, but just stop. Like, it's not going to happen. It's too complicated. There's too much red tape. Yeah. We're never going to succeed in this. And he always did the exact opposite. And to hear him for the very first time say to us on the Army set, like, no, I don't want them to stop. Like, I think what they're doing is amazing. And, who knows, hopefully one day. And I was like, oh shit, this story's got to get told, because he loves it. The fan base clearly loves it. And I already knew it was an interesting story. You could step back and point at anybody and say like, oh, this is just a fascinating story. But to get that confirmation from key members of the movement and then from him at that time, that was a light bulb moment that said like, all right, I guess I'm going to do the book. And then of course, anytime a publisher comes around and says to you, they want it, like I could have been pushing this boulder up a mountain and not made any progress. But the minute that a publisher says that they're interested in it, that's all the motivation that you need.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and we can't wait to read it. But Lewis, we're going to stay around for another few minutes after the stream, because there's a few yucks, or during the stream when Sean leaves. But Sean, I wanted to get your thoughts though on Wonder Woman 84. Of course, no spoilers. Now, I've watched your review on the CinemaBlend YouTube channel, a pretty good review. But just for people who haven't seen it, or people who are excited for, like, my thoughts is, go into it wanting to watch a Wonder Woman movie. Don't be worried about the larger DC universe. Just want to watch that movie. What's your opinion on that movie, and did you enjoy it?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very different from the origin movie. It's kind of fascinating that it's still Patty, because I thought that she went in a completely different direction and accomplished something more multi-layered. I ended up leaving the movie more interested in the villains. I thought Maxwell Lord and Cheetah were really great characters, and Wonder Woman was there to almost develop her story to a certain extent, but serve their story as well too. And the messages that I think the movie wants to tell comes through their journey. There's some tremendous action set pieces, but there are chunks of time where there's no Wonder Woman. Like, there's a lot of Diana and there's a lot of Max and Barbara character development, but Wonder Woman's largely reserved for like the second half, and I found that to be kind of puzzling. Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it never didn't hold my interest. I was still into the story 100%. But at one point, my wife did sort of bring up, she's like, is she going to come back and like kick some ass? And I was like, I'm sure eventually. Like, there's a golden armor outfit. I know it's coming. So
It's more of a character story, more of an emotional story than an action movie. And it's a very emotional movie. And I was surprised. And the trailers for me don't do it justice, because there's a lot of cheesy moments in the trailers which work in context, but the trailers didn't show
Yes.
how emotional this movie actually is. Did you feel that as well?
yes, very much so. In fact, in place of full-blown action set pieces, there are character specific moments that I think are really important to her development, that worked extremely well in context. And there's a couple of surprises that, as far as I know, are not out there, and I'm not going to talk about them. And I want them to be protected as long as possible, because I want people to experience them for the first time, because there's one or two of them that when they happened, I screamed, you know, and I was thrilled.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for people to get a chance to see it themselves next week here in the States anyway.
There's a certain scene I'm just thinking of already, and I can't wait to talk about it on Twitter with people in spoilers, because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful scene. But Lewis, do you have any closing points for Sean?
No, I mean, I think that was a hell of a lot of fun.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you having me.
No, thank you so much for coming on again. It was one of those ones where, as soon as I found out we were going to be part of the charity stream, I was saying to Sean, I was like, you've got to get Sean. You got to get Sean. He's going to be a great person to talk to. And it means a lot when, I mean, as you know, Sean said, we're only on our like 8th show. So for people to kind of have the faith to take us seriously and come on and have a chat for even, you know, an hour or just 10 minutes, whatever you can do, really means a lot. And kind of reminds us, you know, we are a part of this really awesome community, but despite being in a community, you didn't have to come on, you didn't have to come and talk to us, so we greatly appreciate your time. And
well, and speaking too really briefly about people just doing whatever they can, I'd like to, before I punch out, just remind people that this whole thing is for AFSP. You know, all of these streams throughout the course of the entire day is because of the Snyders, and one of the reasons why the Snyder Cut movement stands apart from the Star Wars and the Marvels and everything is because the amount of charitable work that you guys do and continue to do even after the movie has been achieved, which speaks, I think, volumes about the type of people that you guys truly are. And so I hope people can continue to donate to AFSP, especially during this really difficult time, because I honestly believe that like every single penny donated makes a difference and can really help somebody during, you know, the holidays are supposed to be great, but they can be really difficult for a lot of people. And so whatever you can do, I know that it's appreciated.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
And thanks very much. And the link, of course, to that, to the Autumn Snyder Fund is in the description. And if you want to follow Sean, we're going to stay around for a few more minutes, but if you want to follow Sean, you're going to Nerdy in Many Ways channel, I think?
I am, yes. I got to jump over there and meet those guys. So,
well,
yeah,
I apologize on our behalf for making you late. But for those of you who are interested in the release of Snyder Cut book, it comes out next February. It's available to pre-order.
March 1st. It got pushed back.
Just making sure that you're on your toes. You're on your toes. Right? It's your book. You've got to know this stuff.
I'm so disappointed. So it's weird because it was February 15th, which was my oldest son's birthday, and I thought that's really funny that like it's coming out on my birthday. Then because of production problems, they moved it to March 1st, which I understand is Zack Snyder's birthday. So if the book is coming out on Zack Snyder's birthday, that has to be some type of a blessing from up above. So
the signs don't stop. Okay, so ignore the fake news that I just peddled. March 1st, 2021 should be the hopeful date of release the Snyder Cut, the crazy true story behind the fight that saved Zack Snyder's Justice League. I just put a link in the chat to the CinemaBlend spoiler-free review of Wonder Woman 84. Be sure to check that out. Sean, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, boys. Have a great Sunday.
And you. Thanks, Sean.
Say hi to everyone. Bye. He's already gone. He's out. He's so fast. Let me just change the stream overlay a sec because it's gone a bit crazy. Main 2. Okay, let me just check. Right, say something for me.
Hello. I am
okay, you should be coming through. I just had to quickly change the overlay. We've still got the overlay from previous weeks. We'll just close all of these. So yeah, I mean that was awesome. You know, that was a really Great time. My God, I can't even find which ones I need to. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that was a hell of a lot of fun. My head is in the mode of, okay, stream's over. Let's just have a chat about how that went. I'm like, nope, we're still live. Don't say anything inappropriate.
I wanted to go a bit longer, maybe just talk about a few small topics that's been going on, and I sent off a Zoom Zoom details to someone else there if they wanted to pop on. But we could you're going to see Wonder Woman on the 23rd.
I believe so. Tuesday or Wednesday, yeah. So 22nd or 23rd. It's been absolute chaos trying to find a cinema where they got like the cinema that's literally like 5-10 minute drive from my house is like, nope, we're completely shut. So I have to drive like an hour both ways just to go to the nearest cinema that's showing anything. And then it's just like, okay, when's the soonest I can? And I've just been staying off Twitter. I had to navigate social media to avoid Mandalorian spoilers, and then I had to navigate and dodge Wonder Woman spoilers. I'm not jinxing anything. I've done a pretty good job so far. But if you guys haven't seen Mandalorian, you should probably watch that. It's a pretty good show.
Yeah, we'll probably talk about that in our next episode, maybe.
Yeah, no spoilers here. No spoilers here.
Yeah,
you are safe.
Spoilers. But yeah, like the film came out here on the 16th, but like where I live, there's like a cinema that way, a cinema that way, and a cinema further away. So on the 16th, it was only coming out on one of them, and then on the other two, it was coming out on the 18th. So I said, like, do I wait 2 days or do I watch it opening night? So I traveled the extra bit of distance to go see it, and had a blast. Everyone, of course, social distance, and there was a big crowd actually at it. I was surprised. There was loads of people at it. Social distance, but look, man, this is a movie that if you can, you have to see it on the big screen. It's
yes, that's the thing I'm gonna kind of be sad about with the whole move to streaming services is that a film like Godzilla v Kong is probably the biggest one that stands out to me that I can think of. Maybe Dune as well, as a film that you're just like, how can you not see that in the cinema? You know, I think when I first watched Interstellar, you know, I was way younger and I could hardly remember the theatrical experience, and then it got re-released at the anniversary last summer, and for around the time I think it was on my birthday actually, I went to see it, and it was just like, goddamn, that is a film you need to see in the cinema. So when it came to next year and all these films, what are they going to do? I'm like, oh, maybe I'm going to try my best to go see it in the cinema, but keeping safe and responsible, of course.
But I got to see Blade Runner 2049 in theaters on my own. There was no, like, that movie didn't make much of the box office whatsoever.
Yeah.
And maybe I was the only one that went, but I was in a theater, massive screen, and it was just me. And the way that film is shot, it's like a very loner kind of film, and the visuals are brilliant. And I was just in awe watching it. So like, there is some movies that you just have to see in the big screen. But I would say you'd have to see this in the big screen for some of the action sequences are pretty awesome. Like, you said you've stayed off Twitter and stuff, but is there anything that you've heard non-spoilery about Wonder Woman 84 that kind of is already in your head going in, or what's your perception of the film?
I saw your post on Instagram just saying about how it's the most like emotional thing ever, and I'm like, whoa, fucking stay clear of that. I'm nearly about to go, oh, let's hit the comments and see what people are saying, and I nearly just jumped straight into a minefield.
Newsflash. Big guy cries. That's what everyone was saying. Oh, look at that guy.
Hey, well, I mean, when it came to Mandalorian and no spoilers, I cried my goddamn eyes out, and I'm not even ashamed to admit that, because I was sat here at my desk the other day watching the finale, and I was just crying. I was so glad I was watching it on my own, because it was embarrassing.
Yeah, but did you like for Wonder Woman 84, like, so many people online for nearly, I was going to say years, but the movies, we've been waiting for that long for the movie to come out, saying that it's retcon and Zack Snyder's world, it's going to be more bright, it's going to have loads of jokes, it's going to be a Marvel movie. It really wasn't. And that was something that I was actually not surprised at, but I just had that in my head going in, because I was listening to people for a year on Twitter saying it's the next Thor Ragnarok. And it's not the next Thor Ragnarok. It's not.
Right.
This movie is deep, it's emotional, it's got some great character development, interaction with certain characters is brilliant, and the action is kind of secondary or third in the movie, which is fine, but when the action is done, it's done pretty well. But yeah, like, you're looking forward to seeing it on the 23rd. I'm hoping to see it again on the big screen. People have to wait until the US to see it on their TVs, but either way you get to see it, that's brilliant. But I will say, it doesn't kind of look at Zack Snyder's world and say, I don't want to be a part of you anymore. It just does its own thing. It decides to be a Wonder Woman movie, which I thought was great.
Yeah, no, I kind of was a vibe I kind of picked up from Shazam as well. That was a really, in my opinion, a really good kind of safe way of doing it. I think it straddled the line really well between Zack's with the Snyderverse and the new ideal DC universe that some of the execs are pushing. It had that completely distinct tone and vibe, which I love that it was doing its own thing. But also they were constantly like, oh look, it's Ben Affleck's Batman Batarang. It's his all these references to Metropolis and Superman. Obviously Superman showing up at the end. It's like it straddled the line perfectly. I thought there were kind of a couple of like really on the nose jokes, like that kid when he's playing with the action figures, and then he sees Shazam, he's like, "Well, fuck that, I don't care. I want to watch this now." It's like, okay, I see the joke there, but I mean, yeah, I'm not one of those people who's gonna boycott a film just because it's not honoring what Zack did. Obviously, I'll be happy that films honor what Zack did, but as long as they're not being, disrespectful and saying like, fuck you, Zack, I hate your movies or whatever, because I'm a fan. Films like Shazam that honor it, but mainly focus on doing their own thing and pushing that new formula that DC is really trying to nail down of, let's just give our directors complete freedom to do whatever the hell they want. Let's have two films in the same universe that don't seem like they belong in the same universe. I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah, and people were like, when the kind of news kind of leaked a few days ago that the team A Beautiful Lie was going to be in the movie. Of course, the famous scene where the Waynes get murdered in Batman v Superman, and then the Martin moment.
Spoilers! Calm down, there.
Everyone's seen it. They've hit watched it by now. But yeah, people were saying, how can they use that? Oh my God, that's a Bruce Wayne theme. But the way they use it in the movie is it's really well done, and it actually ties in with the whole theme of the movie. And I'm actually interested for people to get this, to hear it and see it in context.
Yeah,
with
that's the other thing that I am super excited to hear. That was going back to your question when you asked what I've heard that's non-spoiler and I'm looking forward to. That was instantly like, whoa! It's not just because it's not like I just heard, oh, that's from a Zack Snyder film. I love that. The soundtrack for BVS was gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. So to see that kind of being, woven into other films I love that.
Yeah, and people will criticize it and stuff. I think this movie will be kind of divided in the fandom. I think a lot of people who are just diehard Zack Snyder fan and don't want to watch any other comic book movie might not like this as much.
Right.
But guys, like if every movie was like Zack Snyder's movie, then he'd have no style, he'd have no substance. So
yes,
it's better to get different kind of things.
Judge every movie for what it is, not what it isn't.
Exactly. And go into this wanting to watch a Wonder Woman movie, and you'll come out having a great time, I think. But yeah, it is done really, really well. And yeah, I just can't wait to talk to everyone about it in a spoiler edition of this show when we break it down, because then probably after Christmas, because then everybody has got a chance to see it. But I'm glad people will get to see it nonetheless.
Yeah, no, for sure. This was one of those things that I think when we were originally planning about schedule going forward, we were like, oh, we'll try and see Wonder Woman as soon as possible, and then we'll talk about it. But then obviously my schedule got a bit busy, so I had to push it back. And then we were talking, we were like, actually, it just makes much more sense to kind of leave it until at least after Christmas, when people have had a much better chance to see it, and could maybe enjoy a live stream a bit more, because they would have actually had time to go and see it. But it's one of those things I got to getting quick. There are tier 4 ultra hardcore lockdowns flying around the UK. I'm just like dodging it. I'm like trying to get to a cinema, but luckily it's the other side of England entirely.
England's going in tier 3 or something, I think, isn't it? A big lockdown again.
Not nationally at this point. Wales is going, as I think today actually, it's gone into a lockdown, like a proper one. And then in terms of England, I think it's just like London and the surrounding area that I'm dodging. But before anything else, I just wanted to say this is something that the conversations that we were having with Sean was just so like, I was so like absorbed by what we were talking about and going down this rabbit hole that I never got a moment to actually just say like, thank you everybody for turning up. I mean, we're not leaving yet, we're not done, but like the vibes in the chat, nothing but positivity. There were a few questions that did get put in that I didn't get a chance to ask, so I apologize to everyone who did ask a question that didn't get to be passed on to Sean, but I was just so kind of wrapped up in what we were talking about. I did see people wanting an interview with Zack in the future. Like, yeah, we'd love to have an interview with Zack. I'm sure that would be great.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's we can hope for it. We'll just keep spamming his social inbox with
Look,
meeting
the real
IDs.
reason
Please join.
the real reason we're still talking now is Ray Fisher or Jason Momoa might pop in. Maybe, I don't know. Just stay around.
You never know. You never know. It's just Jeremy Irons all of a sudden like appears out of thin air, and he's like, "Okay, how's it going?" I'm trying
Playing
to see
Alfred,
what else did I see in chat. There was, yeah. Will you guys end up getting Ray Fisher or Zack Snyder on here? Man, I fucking love them. That'd be great. As you said, I think we kind of mentioned this right at the start. Going back, well, what we were talking about right before the stream went live is was watching Ray on Poindexter Lounge, and it was just like such a cool chat, super, you know. I mean,
Chill.
Ray is such a nice, down to earth guy, and he's just the type of person that you'd be like, hell yeah, I'd love to talk to you about bajillion sorts of things. You could talk to him about like, you know, what's your favorite type of coffee, man, and then you just have this peaceful conversation where you sell things right with the world.
I would love to interview Ray because he was in one of my favorite TV shows of all time, True Detective. He was in season 3, and I love that show a lot. So I would love to pick his brain because the showrunner and the writer of that show is Nick Pizzolatto, and he's written loads of books, and he wrote all 3 seasons of True Detective. He's just a really brainy guy, and if you go to Nick Pizzolatto's Instagram, whenever he posts anything, if you go to the comments and you just ask him any question, he always replies. So he's kind of cool. So I would love to pick Ray's brain about him and just True Detective in general because I love that show so much. On top of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Maybe the question you need to ask next time is, are you free for an hour or so to join the Movie Buffs show where we can pick your brain on all sorts of things? No, fuck off. All right.
Get out of it.
How many times do I have to block you? This is like the 15th account that you've messaged me on.
But this Deck the Hall of Justice, a big shout out to Nicotina. He was the one that kind of organized it and asked us to be participants in it, which of course we're very happy. So basically there's a US one going on as well, along with the international one. So we were the first for the international. I think the Spanish one is going on probably around now.
Yes,
then there's an Argentine
Spanish show going on right now.
Yeah.
I will post a link to the tweet that has the schedule.
Yeah, Argentina as well. There's another Spain one, and then of course the American one. But I can't wait for tonight's because Zack Snyder will be on Dave the Film Junkie, and he will be on Chris Wan's stream. So that's going to be awesome to hear what they have to say. And it's a really, really good day. And of course, it's all for the Adam Snyder Tribute Fund to raise money. So guys, get into that link. Donate if you can. If you have any bits of money at all, if it's $1 or $2 or anything or £1, it doesn't really matter. Just put it in there, and it all goes towards a really good fund. So the four nerds are now with Sean, and then League of Mayhem is in about an hour or two, and then Real Emotion, and then Comic Book Debate, then Film Junkie and Chris Wan, then Lightcast. So it's a packed day of streams, and it's really, really good fun to interact with everybody in the fandom.
Yeah, I mean, and this is just, again, this is one of the things that, actually, before I say this point, while I was just sharing the link, I got an alert from OBS saying, like, output failed, but OBS is still saying we're live, YouTube is still live, so put a comment in the chat if something goes horribly, horribly wrong, but it seems to be okay, touch wood. The point I wanted to mention was, it was something that I mentioned when we were talking to Sean was, I mean, yeah, this is only our 8th episode, and all of a sudden, you know, we have Fabian on, we have Hilton Angel Ruiz who came on, we just had Sean, and it's like the confidence that people are showing in us to just come on and have a chat is really great. The support that we're seeing in the live chat, in the comments after the stream is done is, you know, really meaningful, and it helps us out a lot to show that we're doing something right at the very least. And then to be asked to be part of this huge charity streaming event is, you know, mind-blowing, and it's such a positive side that we're doing something right. So I cannot stress enough, and I know how cliche it sounds, I cannot thank you guys enough for your support. Like, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think, like, because we never did this before, like, we're trying to get better by each show, so like we're becoming more comfortable. I thought probably this one was our most fast flowing or like free flowing stream where we just had engagement and conversation. But of course, like, we're learning, we're trying to make it as best show for you guys as possible. But without you guys in the comments, without you guys sharing it around, it wouldn't be anybody here. So I thank everybody who participates. It's great fun. And any questions and stuff like that, guys, don't be ever afraid. But talking about the tribute fund, we're on $34,576 right now. Goal is 50. So we got another 16 to go or 15 to go. So look, I think we will get there, and hopefully Zack Snyder later on and Ray Fisher has helped pumped it up a good bit, and even like Ben Affleck sharing it around a few weeks ago was brilliant as well, like Us United and stuff. So
Yeah, I think
I think we
I
will.
think that means we've got like an extra grand towards the goal in like the last hour or two, which is just
Brilliant.
like, I mean, like that's not chump change, guys. That's $1,000. That's a huge deal. And
Yeah.
then when you put that against the backdrop of almost 500,000, it's just, or surpassing half a
Yeah.
million, and this extra fund. And I was sure that, like, I don't know. I guess it's more of a semantic detail, but like when they were originally going for like when Zach initially was like saying we're nearly at half a mil, and then they create this separate fund for Autumn Snyder, and obviously it still contributes to the 500,000. But I was like, okay, well, I just kind of assumed that people were just going to carry on donating to FSP or whatever. And then like a month or two later, it's just like, oh, we're at 35 grand on this particular fundraiser alone. And I know that's 35 grand that may have gone to AFSP regardless without going through this fundraiser. But being able to put a name and a face to fundraisers like this, being able to share Autumn's name and her story and the Snyder family as a whole, being able to kind of just, I think that kind of can help people when they're donating, just to be able to say, like, it's your legacy that I'm honoring by doing this. It's not just a case of you're giving AFSP some money. It's saying, no, there's a meaningful connection behind it. And it's just incredible. Like, I'm sure there isn't a day that goes by where Zach isn't, smiling with pride as to what's been achieved by this community as a whole.
Yeah, and it's brilliant, and it's like, as we were saying to Sean, even after the movie has been announced in May, there's still people putting funds in, people still organizing events, which is unbelievable. But just to talk about kind of some of the stuff we haven't had a stream for, Zach putting it into IMAX, and then maybe the episodes now being back into a movie. What's your thoughts on all that kind of stuff?
Oh, well, I mean, this is something that came up in the conversation earlier. I think with the joint stream and theatrical release for like 17 blockbusters next year or whatever, I think all of a sudden it kind of becomes like, it wasn't something that I twigged on straight away. I wasn't like, oh, how is this going to change the Snyder Cut process? How is this going to change how that's distributed? I didn't really think about that, and then all of a sudden I just thought, well, if they're doing simultaneous streaming and cinema release for all of these things, doesn't that mean that they do it for Zack's as well, given that that's basically like their biggest title in terms of like publicity behind it? And I'm thinking, oh, well, how are they going to do that with a show? Again, we had a whole conversation about this earlier. Are they going to do cinematic releases of 4 1-hour episodes? Are people really going to go to the cinema for 1 hour? I don't know. And I was thinking, well, what would make sense is if they released it as one big fucking movie. And I'm like, okay, yeah. We've managed to navigate all the way from just a simple director's cut of, maybe 3 hours, 3.5 hours, to then going, oh yeah, we're finally going to get it. It's going to be an episodic form. No problem with that. To then being at this point where we're back, we go full circle, and we're now like, how about a 4-hour film in the movies? You're going to fucking sit there and you're going to watch it for 4 hours. I know I will. So yeah, I'm 100% behind however it is that they want it to be released. We know that, I'm not saying other directors aren't this way, but we know that Zack is a very particular director about even just something like the visual, the aesthetic of a film. And seeing the amount of posts he's put on social media about how engaged he is with the editorial process, again, not saying other directors aren't, it just seems like one of those things where he was like, okay, if we're going to do it like a film, we need to do it this way. If we're going to do like a series, we're going to do it this way. But I really want it to be a film. And we know how crafty he is, and I know this is a bit tangential, but the fact that when they were originally shooting Justice League, the execs were like, no, you need Superman in a red and blue suit. So Zack was like, okay, I'm going to shoot him in the red and blue suit, but I'm going to light the scene in a way that I know in post it'll be really easy to put it in a black suit. It won't like look jarring or anything. So we know that he's a clever bastard. We know he's a clever son of a bitch when it comes to making his movies. So I have no doubt in my mind that even if they released it as a 4-part series, he'd be like, as soon as part 4 is released, he just slams his fist on this big button and says, drop the 4-hour film because I know that this is how I want my film to be seen. Who knows? He may be like, I prefer it to be seen as a 4-part miniseries. That won't be the case. I don't know. but I think I can hazard a guess as to which one he'd prefer.
Yeah, and even if it is going to be a movie, and then if the Blu-ray does come out, it might be dissected into episodes where you could have an option of watching it in episodes as well, which would be pretty cool, or on HBO Max, whatever way you want to do it. But yeah, it's cool to see how he's so involved with his editing. And he also said that he always does the trailers as well. So the trailers are like mini movies of what to expect in the actual movie.
Yeah.
So that's awesome as well. But like on Vero, he basically did a Q&A with all the fans in Vero. I think it was 50 questions he answered. I did a video about it on my own channel about every single question that he answered. And it was just pretty cool. And it shows why this fan base is kind of loyal to him, because he is loyal to them and he's respectful and he brings them into everything he's doing. Like, things go on Vero first. They don't go on Twitter. You know, like that's crazy, because like we all have Vero because he was the one who went there first, kind of, you know?
Yeah.
And when he drops an image, we get it and we put it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then it explodes, or on Instagram or on Facebook. So that's awesome. Was there anything that, like, from those Q&A, those kind of questions he answered, was there anything that really popped out to you? Did you get to see much of the questions?
Well, I was just thinking when you were talking about his questions and answers on Vero, I thought way back to I can't remember when it was ages ago, where some guy said you would get a lot more attention if you posted this on Twitter, and he was just like, I don't care about the mainstream, I'm doing this for you. Now, whether you can say he's like, no, I'm posting it on Vero because my buddy, you know, is the boss of Vero, and you know, he wants more attention on here. I mean, that's fair enough. Yeah. Vero's new update, for those people who have not used Vero since the update, it's pretty fucking nice. It's kind of the only thing it needs. The one thing it needs is comment tracing. You know, you need to be able to just, like, when Zach replies to a comment, I have to go for like 10 minutes to find the original one, and it'd be like somebody's asked like 3 questions and I just have to guess which one he's answering to. Like, if you change that, I think Vero would just be perfect, because it is just so like clean and streamlined, and you're not getting bombarded by ads or anything like that. And, you know, Vero are paying me a lot of money to say this, so I should probably put that out. But it is really nice, and as you say, I think the Vero story, I guess, is one of those things that can definitely give you a really good insight as to the Snyder Cut journey. It's like, in terms of how loud the community is, you just look at how Zach's like, oh, I posted my shit on Vero. Everyone floods to Vero. All of a sudden, Vero starts popping off, and like, okay, we've got so many users now that we've got to put out this big new update to keep people engaged. And it's like, that's where the attention goes. And you see, like, I want to say that Zach uploading the new Justice League trailer, like the newest one with the extra couple of shots in, had more views on his Twitter than it did on the HBO Max YouTube. And obviously that was primarily because it got taken down, and then it was a new trailer uploaded, so that the original like 15 million views were technically lost. But just going forward, people like, they are flocking to Zach's social media. They are coming to him, and that level of noise and attention that simple things can generate is obviously one of the biggest indicators for a studio to then just go, okay, like, you're putting your money where your mouth is here.
Yeah, social media is such a huge part. Like, look at the Rock, as we were talking about with Black Adam.
Yeah.
Like, he has a family of people. That's his family, all his followers on Facebook and on Instagram and on Twitter. And he engages with them, and he posts things for them. He does videos, he does live streams. He does it for them. And that's why they come out for his movies. That's why they come out and support what he's doing, because he's such a friendly guy and everyone wants to be around him. And it's the same with Zach. Like, everything is done through the fans. And the reason this movie's coming out is because of the fans, because of the engagement the fans give Warner Brothers and HBO Max. And like, it's pretty amazing. And as you talk about, like, on Vero, the layout and stuff, it's pretty cool. Like, sometimes I remember in the past, things we put out of context. Zack Snyder said the movie's coming out next month. Did he? Yeah, show me. And then he was replying to this comment. He says, you like my dog? And Zack was saying yes. But you know, the new Vero layout is pretty cool though, and I probably should spend more time on it. It's just because I'm too addicted to Twitter and YouTube. I'm just always stuck on those apps, but I should try Vero out a little bit more. But now, like, March is only a few months away, and that's when the movie is supposed to come out. March, like, once we get Christmas over, we only have a few months.
It's basically March at that point.
Yeah, and like, WandaVision is to come, and then Winter Soldier's coming as well. So like, the weeks are going to fly by. Do you think it's a possibility that, because we got Wonder Woman here 9 days before the US, do you think they could treat that as a theatrical release, as we were talking about with Sean, and we get it in theaters as well? Or Is it just going to be dropped all in one place to get? Like, will we have to go to POVOD and buy it like that because we don't have HBO Max, or what do you think is going to happen? Because HBO Max and Sky, which is the main TV provider in the UK and Ireland, and also in France and also in Italy, and I think maybe Germany, they couldn't strike a deal with HBO Max to have Wonder Woman on Sky Store. So Sky Store is basically where you can go and buy or rent the new releases through Sky. So you go in and you pay your 15 or 20 pound or euro to get, say, the newest movie that has just become available on digital. But usually Sky and HBO have a contract and they can come up with deals. But this time they couldn't come up with a deal for Wonder Woman. So now on the 13th, when it releases, it won't be on the Sky Store. You just have to go to the other kind of platforms, maybe like Apple, iTunes, or whatever the movies come there, or Google Play Store, to buy it. So I found that very interesting because we all thought that Zack Snyder's Justice League would be on Sky because they have such a big partnership with HBO.
Yeah, God, it's a logistical nightmare from the sounds of things in terms of getting all of this sorted. The idea of us getting it earlier, I think is pretty fucking funny because I've spent like the majority of my life when it comes to big cinematic releases having to wait for, the North America gets it first and then we get it like weeks or even a month later, and it's like now it's like, haha, we get Wonder Woman before you guys do. But I don't know. It's really awkward because there's just no precedent to go off. There's no there's no like model where they can go, oh, this really works, this really doesn't. They've got Tenet as their like case study of just a cinematic release and how bad an idea that is. They're going to get Wonder Woman as a case study of doing both. So I think we'll just have to kind of wait and see how Wonder Woman is received, kind of rolling out. I think that would give us our best indicator going forward. I'm personally, I'm obviously I want to see it in the cinema, but if it's a case of it's released on some kind of streaming service and then a month later it comes out in the cinema, I'm not gonna be able to wait a month before watching it. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's as much as I'd love to guess, I think it's just entirely well, not entirely, but heavily dependent on how well Wonder Woman performs over the next kind of couple weeks. I think that's going to be the real I think litmus test is the right word I'm looking for how they're going to proceed moving forward. What about you?
Yeah, we can't be too harsh either because they're trying to adapt as well. This is new to them too because as you said, we've nothing to go on. Like, what did they used to do 2 years ago? There's nothing to look at. So, like, Wonder Woman came out here 9 days early. People in the US will have to wait until 25th. Then if we want to watch it again after it leaves theaters, we have to get it on PVOD, which is okay as well. So, like, what will happen with Zack Snyder's Justice League? Will theaters be even open in March? Because if they close down again in England in certain places, can they reopen? Do they have the funds to do it? Here, if they close, the same thing could happen. Like when Wonder Woman comes out and it's finished, what's the next big movie? There is no really next big movie to come out and to save theaters. Like right now, if I want to go to the cinema, there's a heap of stuff that I never even heard of, low budget indie stuff, cartoon stuff like that. But I don't think they're enough to really drive the cinema industry forward. So, like, Zack Snyder's Justice League isn't a special thing in terms of the way movies are coming out right now. Like, we could get it early before the US. Mm-hmm. And that's what could happen because it's just another movie that's being released. But I hope that we get to see it all at the same time.
Yeah.
And if we don't, I think it's something that we have to deal with because, as you said, in the past, we used to get a movie 2 weeks after the US or a week after the US or a day before the US or 2 days before the US or something. Like, there was never actually a set thing in place. It was always different for each movie. So for Zack Snyder's Justice League, it could be the same thing. It could be different. We could all get it at the same time. But look, Wonder Woman is coming out now. I'm sure there's spoilers online, and some people have to wait 9 days to see it.
Yeah.
So it could be the same for Zack Snyder's Justice League, and that's just something that we have to live with. We can't get too angry about it, but at the end of the day, we're going to see it anyway. So we can't be beggars can't be pickers or whatever you call it, saying choosers, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just as you say. I think I'm just the one thing I have to keep reminding myself of is the fact that we're actually just getting the Snyder Cut at all, and that extends to a load of other films. Any film that's coming out next year, I'm just grateful that I'm going to get to see it, and not that they're going to get delayed until 2022 or whenever herd immunity with whatever vaccination gets rolled out is achieved. So at bottom, I'm just, the most foundational thing is that I'm just happy that I'm going to get to see these films one way or another. Yes, I'll have my preferences about whether I want to see it on the big screen or whether I, can see it on my phone or whatever. Obviously, it's not ideal, but yeah, at the end of the day, I'm there is a lot of content coming our way, and as you say, beggars can't be choosers. It's just ridiculous that we even have this. All these opportunities to watch these films. And I think this is something I mentioned in a previous episode, the fact that just comic book movies are like the big shit now is just like one of those things I have to keep pinching myself about, because I'm like, people are, their careers are made from these films, their careers are ended on these films, and the fact that we're at the point where we're like, oh no, I have to, see Zack Snyder's Justice League, or I have to see all these 20 Marvel products, or, these other Disney shows, there's Peacemaker show, there's, this film here, this show here. Like, oh no, I have to, like, work out whether I'm going to watch that from the comfort of my living room or in a cinema. It's like, boo fucking who. I'm just happy that I'm getting to see this stuff.
Yeah, and, like, the thing I was going to say as well is it's pretty interesting because, like, with Zack Snyder's Justice League coming out, and whatever capacity we get to see it in, is like we're going to see it. But like many people, like at the end of the day, we're going to see it and get to talk about it as a fan base. And when that happens, it's going to be pretty impactful for everybody who's been involved the last few years or just joined.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty cool that we can have this experience together and talk about the movie finally. And when it does come out, people are going to be so happy. And like people will hate watch it as well, but that's what we need. And you can't tell me that in a movie that has Batman, that has Superman, that has Wonder Woman, people won't want to watch that. People are going to watch that.
Yeah.
Like Batman v Superman, what did they make? Like 880 million or
over 900 million, I think.
Yeah. So and then if you round out, I think the domestic Blu-ray sales were 90. I don't know what the international ones were.
It was like
so
870 from the cinemas, and then it had a big chunk from that. And then I think people were saying that the new IMAX release that we're going to get early next year, people were saying like, oh, maybe that can help tip it over.
Exactly. And then even the DVD releases or merchandise and all that stuff. So basically it was $1 billion movie. Okay, it was in terms of everything, not just box office. So people are definitely, even if they're just sitting at home and they have HBO Max or they have Sky or whatever, and a film with Batman and Superman pops up, they're going to click on it and watch it. Yeah. These are the biggest characters in the world. So if they put it out in theaters, don't tell me that people aren't going to go see it either. Like, what, people are going to go see a Peppa Pig film, but they won't go see a film with Batman and Superman. Like, that's ridiculous, you know?
Hey, you put those two together, you get Peppa Pig leading the Justice League, and man, you're in for a wild ride.
They got the parents bringing their kids to the cinema. You're going to Peppa Pig. I'm going in to watch Batman say fuck, and Wonder Woman chop someone's head off.
Oh no, Batman says fuck. Zack doesn't get the character. It's just,
what did you make of all that stuff?
That was film Twitter at its most embarrassing in my point of view. Like, okay, opening up a dialogue about whether or not Batman kills is a different thing, and my obvious retort to that is yes, Zack agrees with you. Batman shouldn't kill. That's the point of BVS, but that's another thing entirely. Film Twitter melting down over Zack saying, yeah, Batman says fuck. And like, the headlines were so misleading. The amount of headlines that I saw that just kind of completely omitted the part where he said, yeah, Steppenwolf is going to he's going to cut people in half. Like, and there was like, Zack Snyder says Batman, Justice League will be an R rating because Batman says fuck. I'm like, you guys are doing this intentionally, and you're probably doing it to get people like, people like myself who get angry at these headlines to come into the comments and say you're wrong, or you're kind of half right. You've omitted this key point about people being cut in fucking half. It's the same shit we've been used to for the last like 3 years. It's just people being very, very intentionally misleading with their headlines. But the whole Batman saying fuck, like. Look at BVS, right? And this is one of my favorite things about BVS is Zack perfectly captured right at the end just how out of depth Batman was. Like that point where Doomsday just looks at him and he's like, fuck, and he grapples away. I'm like, yeah, because that's pretty goddamn realistic. He spent his, he's just in this kill mode to kill Superman, and then he finally snaps out of it, and then all of a sudden he's like, okay, I'm up against this like genetic freak creature that Superman and this other random chick cannot kill. Yeah, I'm gonna shit myself. So I have no problem with Batman having to say the word fuck. I hope there's a part where he's just like swearing his ass off for like a whole minute, and looking straight at the camera while he does it, just say "fuck you, film Twitter." You guys get angry over the dumbest shit, And so
and it's funny as well, because the theory about Zack Snyder saying maybe he directed two versions of every scene, so a studio version and then his own version. So you had him doing whatever the studio wanted, but then you had another scene, right, Ben? Now you're gonna say, "Fuck you, motherfucker!" You're gonna punch him in the nose, and like that's probably what happened. And then when the movie, like, this is gonna be R-rated. This movie, like the one in 2017 would have been PG-13.
Yeah.
This one's gonna be hard R. So we're gonna get to see. So we know this is not spoilers. We know he says fuck. We know that Steppenwolf slices and dices people.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Wonder Woman, unless it's changed, will cut off somebody's head. I don't want to say who, in case people in the comments don't know, but
yes,
she cuts off someone's head.
There will be some sword action, supposedly, allegedly. It's all.
So there's
hearsay.
There's three things that we know is going to be R-rated. What else? Like he said that Cyborg isn't too happy about the way his life is.
Mm-hmm.
So do you just have Cyborg saying, "You motherfucker"? Like, what is going to be like? What? Like I think this film is going to be so different than what we were expecting, even.
Yeah, do you think maybe like that whole additional photography, nothing to do with Nightmare? It was just Zack filming like close-ups of people's face, saying like all these expletives, just so he can then insert them into shots. Like they're doing that 360-degree conversation, and Flash is just sat there like, "Oh, fuck this, man, fuck," and it's like this like really horrible green screen around his head, and they're all just like constantly hard cutting to him going fuck, and just like Zack's like, fuck you guys, I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want, or have like a Steppenwolf. I don't know, there's somebody that's dead, and then Steppenwolf's just like hacking the shit out of their body the whole time. He's looking dead in the camera, just like, It's like that meme when Jared Leto was like, everyone's like, whoa, he's coming back for some additional photography. And there was that meme of like Zack's face saying like, oh, you hated Jared Leto's Joker? Well, I'm going to fucking do it again, all right? Just to piss you guys off.
It's like he got every single criticism that has been thrown his way since he made Man of Steel, and said, like, his movies, he said people say he makes dark movies or movies that aren't for kids. Like Man of Steel is a pretty inspiring movie.
Yeah.
And like Batman v Superman, the theatrical version, is a movie that people can watch. But it's like, okay, you want to say that I'm too already, and you want to say I'm too dark? Okay, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You hate Jared Leto, I'm bringing them back in. You don't want to say Batman. You don't want to see Batman with a gun. You don't want to see him say fuck. And you don't want to see him kill. Well, I'm gonna get him having a gun. He's gonna kill, and he's gonna say fuck, and he's gonna fuck some bitches as well. So we're just gonna see everything.
Not only will I give him a gun, I'm gonna put him on a fucking cannon, all right? And I'm gonna have him murder so many people. Well, this is the thing, right? This is another film Twitter meltdown. The pictures that we saw, like the one that Ben Affleck posted for the S United, that's him shooting parademons, right? And film Twitter then just goes into this hyperdrive meltdown of, oh, nice to see Batman still using a gun and killing people. Like, you guys didn't seem to have any problem in Avengers when they were killing hordes of these fucking soldiers, did you? Like, of this alien creatures. You don't have a problem with that. So when it's the exact equivalent of that in Justice League, and Batman literally has no option because he will just die if he doesn't shoot these guys, like... Get a grip. Like, come on. It feels like there's just people are going out of their way to hyper react to stuff that Zack does. And then part of what I love about Zack's filmography and film style is exactly what you just said. There are a lot of criticisms that he's just said and just gone, fuck you, I'm going to do it again. But twice as crazy. Oh, you didn't like that BVS was too dark? Well, I'm going to have the fucking main villain of this hack people to death, Fuck you.
And like people say that he hates women as well, when he made an entire movie with women, Sucker Punch, and he had a woman, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, come in and save the day in Batman v Superman, and he hates women.
Arguably the best thing one of the best things about BVS was Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. Arguably the most loved part of DC entirely is Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman.
And he said he doesn't respect them, but he has them as at leading the Trinity. So people make up all these bullshit things, and Zack says, okay, I'm going to ramp it up now.
Yeah.
And I think this movie is going to be, like, we already know it's going to be so different from what we would have got in 2017, but this is going to be so different than any of us can even imagine.
Yeah, this is the thing. We've seen so many Vero posts, and we've seen trailers, and we've watched them endless amount of times, but it's just like, it's a really good point you picked up on. It's just, there's so much that we do not know. There is so much that we have. The trailers we're seeing are what, like 2 minutes. This film is 4 fucking hours. Like, there is a lot of stuff that we just have absolutely no idea what it's going to contain. I hope it's just. I mean, this is one of the things I love. Absolutely love directors who are just unapologetically themselves in their filmmaking, and I think it's one of the biggest pulls to Zack's films for me is that at no one point am I watching these films and saying like, oh, I can see where he's maybe trying to toe the line a little bit. It's like, no, he's just like, this is a film I want to make, this is a story I want to tell, and I'm going to do it, and I admire the hell out of that.
Yeah, and even Darius, the fungo collector in the comments goes, I'm really excited for the R rating. So many people are interested in that already. And like we got Joker, which was already big smash hit. People loved it. Logan, Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2,
Yeah,
Birds of
people
Prey
like
had an
this
R
shit.
rating. Yeah, people want to see it. Like, it's not the end of the world, And I think it's different. Like, if you want a PG-13 Batman, watch the Dark Knight trilogy, but the Dark Knight trilogy isn't even PG-13 either. Like, there's some pretty dark moments in those films,
Yeah.
and Batman is a very troubled character. So people just like to nitpick. And I think there's a big agenda against Zack Snyder. I think if Christopher Nolan was doing an R-rated Batman movie, people wouldn't bat an eyelid. They'd be saying, "Oh my God, this is what we need." I actually think Matt Reeves' Batman will be R-rated as well.
Yeah.
I think that could be, and the Suicide Squad is going to be R-rated as well. So they're not just making things for kids anymore.
Well, that's what I love, and we've talked about this countless times. Is the DC going down this route of just saying like, yeah, fuck it, Hey, Andy Samberg, you want to make a nice, light-hearted, family-friendly Shazam film? Go for it. Hey, Matt Reeves, you want to make an R-rated Batman where Batman is like almost murdering people with his violent combat? Fucking do it, bro. Like that's just what is gonna help DC do its own thing. And I think no matter what, I think one of the things I'm super interested about with the MCU going forward, and this was something we talked ad nauseum last episode, was they're obviously moving into this multiverse dynamic and kind of getting a bit weird with everything and all that. But I'll be very interested to see, will they deviate particularly far enough from that kind of Feige formula? You can watch a bunch of Marvel movies. You could probably watch like 60-70% of the MCU and notice the exact same tone and vibe to every film, which works for Marvel, don't get me wrong. But seeing how they're going to expand that in Phase 4 is a completely different thing. But it's why I just love that DC's kind of already hit the ground running on that front and just said, okay, James Wan, you want to go crazy and just like all out with Aquaman and get really weird with it? Go for it. Patty, you want to make a nice stylish 80s vibe Wonder Woman? Yeah, you do that. Matt Reeves, you want to go for a really dark Batman movie? Absolutely, you got it. And I think that is just going to be, again, I'm not going to pretend to know about making films and leading cinematic universes, but I can only imagine that this is going to pay dividends moving forward.
Yeah, and just to remind everybody, of course, this is part of the Deck the Halls of Justice live stream event. We're the international streamers, and there's loads of streams going on in North America. I think For Nerds is on right now as well. Sean O'Connell, who was here, is now on.
We got him first. We got him first.
Yeah, we got him first. They have $33 raised, and they have like a donate button, so they have $33 raised on their stream.
We would have had one of those, but it would have broke straight away with like tens of thousands of dollars going straight through. So the link is pinned in the chat if you do want it, and it's in the description as well. If you want to check out the drive, please. Obviously you don't have to donate if you can't, but please consider supporting it. We're so nearly at we're fast approaching 50k on there. We're getting 50 million, and it's just been an incredible to be a part of this.
Yeah, and it's great, and they've got great engagement over there. And then later on, Chris Wan, Film Junkie, League of Mayhem, Lightcast, North America streamers, they're doing their thing, and then we've got the international streamers as well going on for the night. So everyone's having a lot of streams tonight, which is all being because everyone has different audiences, everyone has different people who drop by the stream. So you guys who are watching this one, appreciate it.
Yes.
Use that link in the description as well. But just before we kind of finish, I wanted to get kind of your thoughts on what Patty Jenkins said about Wonder Woman that came out in 2017. She was asked about the ending of that movie, the big fight between Wonder Woman and Ares, God versus God, CGI versus CGI. But, that was a big criticism for that movie in 2017. But Patty has said that was a studio change. It wasn't her idea. Her original ending was supposed to be more of a simple philosophical ending. What did you think of that? And what are you expecting to see in Wonder Woman 84 now, since you know that that's not what you wanted?
Well, I mean, if Wonder Woman showed anything, it's that Patty Jenkins knows what she's doing. She knows the character, and even with studio interference with the final act, she could still deliver a phenomenal film. I think at the time it was like the most successful superhero like origin film. So instantly, just came right out the bat, right out, hit the ground running and said, okay, like Patty clearly knows what she's doing. Make a second one, please. In terms of what that means for Wonder Woman 84, I'm again going to assume that we're going to get more of just an unapologetically Patty Jenkins movie. Now, obviously, I've only seen Wonder Woman in her filmography, so N equals 1 in terms of judging what that actually means. With Zack, at least I can tell when I'm watching a film, I know that's a Zack film. So I'm kind of assuming that Wonder Woman 84 is going to help establish her style and vibe, and maybe kind of, again, an 80s superhero film isn't exactly equal to a Star Wars movie, but I'm hoping that it will kind of give us a good sense of what to expect from Rogue Squadron, which I'm super excited for, almost exclusively because she's directing it. It does suck, and this was something I saw doing the rounds on Twitter, was that since Zack's Justice League was being announced and the closer we get to release date, the more people seem to be kind of confident of speaking out against the old Warner Bros. And obviously with exec changes, obviously that makes things a little bit easier, but at the same time, Warner Bros. Doesn't want people just to be going around actively slagging off them as a company, whether it's new or old. So yeah, I'm glad that more people are speaking out about this stuff. Obviously, Zack has been very reserved because he's very clever at playing the game, and also I think he's just a genuinely very nice guy. But Ray being able to speak more and more about the injustices that went on, Gal coming out and lending her support, and it's the tide has changed, and Patty obviously coming out and saying her things. So the tide has obviously changed, and this was something that we talked about with Sean, is that maybe certain industries, or certain studios, I should say, will maybe think twice a little bit more about tampering with films, because people are going to pick up on it. They really are. Just don't fucking do it.
Yeah, and she said that the main criticism for her first film was that big CGI battle at the end, and now to know that wasn't her idea, that like, it's interesting to hear. And now, as you said, they are coming out a little bit more now and speaking not against Warner Brothers in a way, but they're just saying what exactly happened. And maybe that's because the way things are changing, the structure has changed, the new kind of people are in the positions. HBO Max is now involved. AT&T is one of the big owners. So yeah, it's interesting. And like I will say, like, the movie, to know that Wonder Woman 84 was her ending probably shows us that it's her movie this time completely. And I think it's brilliant, but it just shows you what was going on back then in 2016, 2017 with the movies. Like that CGI battle isn't terrible, Ron. It just kind of seemed out of place and forced. But I didn't like it when I was watching it in theaters. I wasn't like, oh, that's terrible, Ron. It was still well done.
Yeah, it was definitely. I think it just kind of felt like it's a superhero movie, so we've got to have like this big action set piece, CGI kind of finale. But I don't think it was like. I mean, if Patty never said anything about that ending, I probably wouldn't have been like, oh, that ending was awful. I wonder if there was another version, whatever. But I thought it was perfectly good, and I obviously came out of Wonder Woman and I was like, that was fucking amazing. I really enjoyed that film. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that sucks, and I hope that Wonder Woman 84, we don't have a story that comes out in a couple of years' time where she says, I had to change this, this, and this because of exec number 1 and exec number 2, whatever. Hopefully it is just an unapologetically Patty Jenkins film. I think that's all you can really ask for at this point. And just every film going forward is unapologetically done by that director. You don't have to worry about coming out of a film and going, I didn't really like that. Maybe there's an unseen director's cut that was forced by, that was forced into being hidden by all of these external alien forces or, studios. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, now I'm going to have to quickly adjust the stream here.
Yeah. How you doing, Mick?
Hey, Sean, how's it going?
Good, on your stuff.
Good, enjoying the show.
Thanks very much for watching. Lewis, are you able to work everything with more people coming in?
Yeah, How many people are we? Are you planning on bringing in?
Might be one more after Mick.
Okay.
I'm gonna see if I can just get a link here going. 1 second. No problem.
I just have to.
I just need a link instead of the what do you call it? The passcode, you know.
Yes. Give me 1 second.
But you can send it to me in DM actually.
It's coming up there now on the mainstream, Lewis.
Yeah, I'm just adjusting. In the.
So Mick, did you get to see Wonder Woman after?
I did actually. I saw it today with my daughter. I quite enjoyed it. You know, I didn't know what to expect. I quite enjoyed it. I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it was different from the first one, but it wasn't like it was like a big change. It was just new, and it looked like it was just a Wonder Woman movie, and I really enjoyed it as well. I thought some of the character development and some of the emotional scenes were brilliantly done.
Yeah, I really liked. I had no idea how they were going to handle Steve Trevor, like that coming in and all. And I won't spoil it for people, but when I explained it to my wife when I got home, there's a TV show in the 90s that did a certain thing that way. Is all I'll say, and it made perfect sense. I was like, wow, actually that works. So I was actually quite impressed with that. Because for all along we've all been kind of going, how the hell are they going to bring him back? And how's it going to work? Magic, right? I assume it's going to be some kind of magic. But
what? You are fucking joking. You are joking me right now. No. No.
What's happening?
No.
How are you
my
doing?
sound on?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey guys.
What the fuck? I gotta sort the stream out. Oh my god. Okay.
We're off the air now. Yeah, we're gone.
No. Oh my god. Okay, hang on.
Moment after.
I need to
right when
compose
you
myself.
ended. So what was up? What were you guys talking about?
We're talking about Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh, cool. What's the you guys haven't seen it. Chris,
So
or maybe no, you have seen it. Sorry, it's out there.
Yeah, I
got to
saw
see
it
it on the
today.
16th.
So, you were just talking about seeing it today, and I was just saying how I quite enjoyed it. My daughter loved it, and I really enjoyed it. I was talking about the Steve Trevor thing, and I had no idea how Steve Trevor was going to come back. I was like, saw the trailers, was like, how does this work? And I was just saying, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. There was a TV show in the 90s that had a similar. I'm not going to say the name of the show, but how it worked, and then there's a mirror, and things work this certain way, and I thought it was. It made sense to me. So when I went home and spoke to my wife, because she was like, first thing she wanted to know is how the hell is Steve Trevor in this movie? And I went, remember that? Oh yeah. And she was like, oh, okay, I get it. So it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Sean, Zach. I mean, Sean's the guy. Sean's the man with the hashtag. Sean typed it for the first time back in 20. What date did you do it, Sean?
Oh, the 21st November 2017, 4 days after the theatrical movie, I tweeted out, and it took off.
That's amazing. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. Look, Zach, I'm a big fan of all your movies, and I can't wait to see the movie in March, and I'm just glad that this journey has finally happened and it's coming, and I'm just so happy. And I just want to thank you big time. I'm a huge fan of all your films.
Well, thank you. It's I think it's not too much to say that probably we wouldn't be quite here if it weren't for you. So cheers to that.
I appreciate it. And Zach, I got to see Wonder Woman on the 16th. I really love the movie, but your Stone Quarry logo kind of took over the end of the movie. It was really big at the end, and it was great to see your name on the movie and Debbie's name. And I'm looking forward to seeing the Stone Quarry logo on many other projects coming up.
Oh yeah, well, you will. We were just last night. Our friends were over for dinner, and we were doing like a brief retrospective of all of our projects that we were working on. Just didn't mean to do an audio visual presentation, but it was pretty fun because I was like, oh, you'll see it here and there, and so it's good. The animated series also are looking cool. The Army animated is cool, and so that's fun. It's fun to do animation, by the way. It's really cool.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that as well. Lewis, have you composed yourself? Have you everything sorted?
All I gotta say, Sean, is that you are an evil bastard, man. Like, it was like 45 minutes ago, Sean's like, oh, we're gonna hang around at the end. We're just gonna, and then you kind of subtly mentioned something about Ray, and I was like, that'd be pretty fucking crazy if Ray joined the call all of a sudden. And then I see Mick's name, and I'm like, okay, all right, this is really cool. You know, Mick's fucking awesome. And he's like, oh, I just need the link. There's only one more person going. All right. I wonder who. And then I just see this like, dude, I'm so sorry. That was like the craziest overreaction. I just, he caught me completely off guard. This is just
like, I appreciate it. You know, I don't know. These guys are probably like, honestly.
I mean, like, this is just, god damn, man. My heart is still going. And then I had to sort out the overlay because we've obviously not done a 4-person stream before. So that was very ad hoc. And my family are all probably terribly concerned as to why is yelling. Oh, but...
Yeah, they're like, are you, the door is locked?
Well, this is the thing. Before the show, because, I mean, I've got a very adventurous dog. So I lock the door so that he can't just like barge in and start interrupting. So my door's locked. I'm screaming. This is not sending a positive message.
Yeah, no, it's not. Don't blame me though. I don't want to get the blame for that in case there's some sort of repercussions.
Oh my goodness, man! Like honestly, I'm gonna say what anybody would in this situation. It is an absolute honor to be able to talk to you and have you on the show. And I believe Sean and I, we've written up some contracts that basically give you have an obligation to return at least maybe 5 times if you come on the show just once.
If you're one,
yeah,
it's a 5-time commitment.
Unfortunately, you have to come back.
You're like a streamer. You're like some sort of you're like any kind of like every app I've ever like subscription I've ever gotten onto. It's like you're like locked. It's like a gym membership.
Yeah, no. And anytime you try to like say I gotta get out of it, it's just gonna add on like another 5 appearances.
Exactly, like it keeps doubling. You're like, no, it's better not. It's better just to do it. It's much better just to do it.
Yeah,
take care of the work.
I mean, honestly, like this is just insane. How are you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm actually down because we live above. This is our office down here, right? So, and our house is above the above the office is kind of like there's a hill and our house is up here and then the office is kind of down here. And so Eli and I were watching some football and I was writing and then I've got some, a couple of things I got to do. And then we're trying to like, Dodie, my editor, was just calling me to say, come down to the edit, which is upstairs in this building. Cause she's like, I got to show you some shots for Justice League. This is how then I'm like, okay, I'll come down. So I was coming down and I was like, oh, I got to jump on a call and say hi to these guys. And then I'll come up and work on the movie.
Oh, I think so, it's just a movie, man. It's just a movie. This call, it's like a once in a lifetime event. I mean, like this is an ambitious crossover right here.
I thought it was 5 times, no?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
No, I've done like apparently there's like a bigger commitment I wasn't aware of. I'm fine.
We had Fabian on a few episodes ago.
Oh, you did? Oh, how was he? Yeah. I just talked to him the other day.
Yeah, he's doing great, and we said the same to him. He said he'd come back and he'd do a spoiler review of Zack Snyder's Justice League when it comes out.
Oh, nice, very good.
He's coming back for that as well. So appreciate you being here, man. But today's a big day. There's loads of streams going on, and kind of how happy are you to see this kind of community of people come together?
Look, I think the community is amazing, and I think that like everything that you guys have been able to do for AFSP, and really anything. There is a great relationship between anything that volumizes the Justice League. There is a knock-on to AFSP, which I think is really exciting, and I just think that I couldn't have imagined that we'd end up here. So it's pretty amazing.
It's great. Yeah, it's great to see everyone come together in such a positive way, and like there's so much negativity in the world, but when we come together, we can really shine through to the positivity and do special things like this. And I think it's amazing. And Mick, of course, has been involved with you for many years now. And like, how important has Mick been to you to try and organize things, or how important has everybody been to you to try and organize everything? And just not even things that you've been involved with yourself, but just to see people who are fans of yours to organize things on their own and to ask you to participate.
Well, that's the thing that's been amazing is this kind of sort of self-generated machine that you guys are, of course, I'm happy to encourage and I'm happy to be part of in the small way like this as best I can. But it's amazing to see the fans sort of without a studio, without any kind of like marketing like plan other than there is a plan. There are like, the plans that you guys make of like, oh, we're gonna on this, we'll do this, and remarkably coherent, which I think is amazing. Yeah, so frankly, I've been at every turn amazed by the what you guys have been able to generate and what you've been able to do. So really, well, proud on one hand, and also just trying to help as best I can on the other. So yeah. But I think that the coolest thing. It's funny, we were talking about the other day. We were talking about like IMAX, right? And, and the studio was like, well, I don't know if we can do IMAX because there's not a lot of money for advertising for IMAX. We don't have that money allocated. And I was like, listen, I promise you that if you gave me an IMAX theater somewhere like in the UK, like the fans, we could generate among the fans enough advertising that like there'd be no doubt about where it's playing and when and why and how. And they were like, really? You think that would be well, I don't know if that's really a thing. I'm like, trust me, it's a thing. So
because Wonder Woman came out here on the 16th, and I got to see it opening night, and there was a big crowd there. So I'm sure if a movie with Batman, with Superman, and with Wonder Woman was to come out in a theatrical way, I'm sure people would come in droves to go see that. So we would all go, and hopefully it's something that happens when Zack Snyder's Justice League comes out.
Well, it hasn't come out yet, so we'll see.
Yeah. Hopefully in a few months. I appreciate it. But Zach, Wonder Woman, of course, is out now. How many times you got to see it, or what's your kind of?
I've seen it a few times, and it's always fun to watch. I actually watched it with my kids the other day, and they really, really loved it. And so it's really exciting and fun, and I'm excited to see what happens on Christmas Day over here, and how it seems like a really good movie to open your presents and with the family, turn it on.
Yeah. Really, it's the movie we kind of need right now. I think it's a very uplifting and inspiring movie, and so many emotional moments in it. But I had a good time with it, and I can't wait for everyone to see it, because I think it is the movie we need right now. A kind of inspiring movie in the environment that we're all going through. But,
it's very it's a really wholesome movie. I mean, everybody I saw coming out of it was a very small, things are nowadays. It's a screen, big enough screen, but we had maybe, I don't know, 20 people in there or something like that. 2 rows are blocked off. There's a few people sporadically put this around the place. So hopefully it can do good business, because the people who can get in are getting in. But at the same time, I was glad to see it the way it was, because outside was a shit show. There were people everywhere. It was like the cinema was the safest place. And I was like happy. My daughter was there. We had our masks on. I was like, I don't want to go back out there, because out there it's crazy. It's a crazy land out there. So we got out and we went home. But I do hope it can really do well with the way cinemas are right now. That they can.
Yeah, I do too. I just want people to see it at this point. I really don't. I don't have a. I would love for the movie to perform. That'd be amazing. But also, my real hope is just that people get to see it and get uplifted by it, because I think that's really what it can do, is in this hard kind of dark time, give people a little bit of hope. So that's pretty cool.
My daughter really connected with there's a piece at the start where the lesson that the girl learns, that young Diana learns, is about honesty. And we have that conversation a lot around, you can kind of do what you want. You can make as many mistakes as you want, but if you own it, you don't really get in trouble. But if you lie about it, then we've got a problem with that. And it kind of registered in there, and there was kind of, I asked her about it, and I asked her about it afterwards, and she was like, and I was like, does that make sense? And she was like, yeah. So even seeing that lesson in a movie, if all I got out of it was that, I thought it was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, and even it stays with you after the movie as well, because with Batman v Superman, with Man of Steel, I know Wonder Woman 84, you're really thinking about the movie after you see it, and those are the best kind of movies that make you think afterwards, and even a few days after.
100%. My whole thing, me. I mean, my main thing is that that you have to, the first balance is not, necessarily the whole thing. You get the first balance and you enjoy it, but you got to go. But there's more to do. There's more work. It's not just. You can let the movie wash over you the first time, but then you got to go back and see what it was about. You know?
This was something that we were talking about for the last like I don't know half an hour just before you joined, was how much I have an affinity for directors who are just kind of unapologetically themselves in their filmmaking, and I think like, and I'm not just saying it because you're here, like you are the quintessential version of that. We were talking about all the things where people have kind of said like, oh, here's a criticism I have against a Zack film, and then half the time you've just gone, I'll do it again. You know, oh, you thought this was a bit too dark? Well, I'm gonna get Steppenwolf to hack people in half in this film, you know, because like yeah.
My thing is that like I don't, you know, I didn't. It's really funny to like talk to filmmakers and or to see movies, not really, but this idea of, you know, even just in film school, or like, what will the audience think? You know, it's like this very sort of, it's commerce driven, you know, it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to make a product that they want. That's cool, but it's not necessarily fulfilling, you know, like you can't, it doesn't necessarily, there's compromises that have to be made in order for you to like it, right? Like, I like this, so therefore it's, you know, better. But I don't know that there is a middle ground, you know, where you're challenged by the thing, and that's what makes you like it. You know, it confronts you, and so you're compelled, rather than just kind of having it wash over you. You know, I don't mean to get too heady on that, but it's just kind of the way I do it. I don't really have a super populist aesthetic. Although I would say that, you know, I do think that is universally true, that people do love movies that challenge them, and they do love movies that are kind of hard and a little bit pokey. I always go like, you know, the studio concept is like, imagine the movie is a ball with tons of spikes on it, right? And so I would say that like when you pick it up, you got to pick it up kind of carefully, and you can look at it, but you got to kind of hold it carefully, right? The studio's version would be like, it'd be great if it was just super smooth and had no pokey bits at all, and anyone could hold it, and that would be the ideal film. And I'm like, yeah, but it's just not cool if it pokes you like a little bit, right? It's like you want it to. I remember my favorite movies when I was growing up, you know, and the ones that kind of effed me up in a good way were, we were just talking about The Shining the other day, right? We were talking about like
so good.
Where he looks in the room there and he sees the bear and the guy on the bed, and the bear's like, I don't know what he's doing, but obviously something. And I was like, I don't know how old was I, like 12 years old or 13 when I saw the movie. And I was like, sex was already a mystery anyway. Like I was already kind of fucked up by like what sex is. And then I see this movie and I'm like, what the fuck? What is happening? It's not okay. Even like when the like, you know, beautiful woman gets out of the shower and then she turns into an old lady. It's like, stop it. You keep doing this to me. It's not cool. But I loved it. But you know, it's haunted me. So that's cool.
If somebody told me when I woke up today that I was going to be in a Zoom call with Zack Snyder talking about sex, I'd be, hello, what the hell? What the fuck are you talking about? And here we are.
Well, you know, movies, they're weird.
They are.
Yeah, I was asked when I got to see the movie Wonder Woman, someone asked me, what did you think of it? And I said, it's not a popcorn driven movie. It's a character driven movie that makes you think afterwards. And I'm sure Zack Snyder's Justice League, whenever that comes out in a few months, hopefully, that will have the same impact on us as fans. Is there any kind of emotion? We know about Cyborg, of course, but is there any other emotional substances that we could expect from that movie?
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of, like, everybody. I think every single character, I think every single character has their emotional arc, and it's all about how they sort of come to terms with their place in the world. You know, that's really what the movie's about in a lot of ways. They're, you know, the Justice League, the characters they're all slightly misfits, you know, and, you know, they're kind of all a little bit searching for something. And it's just, you know, the relationship that they form with each other is kind of what it's about. But, you know, I don't want to ruin it, but I don't think that's obvious. But it is, suffice it to say that that's really the kind of thesis of the movie, you know.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can see, but I have a Walking Dead poster here. I'm a huge The Walking Dead fan. And when it was announced that you were going to do a zombie genre movie again, like Dawn of the Dead, I got even more excited. Have you took any inspiration from that show that's been around the last decade, or is there kind of zombie shows that you took inspiration from movies?
Well, I would say that like, you know, when I came up with the idea for Army, it was like, you know, 10 years before, well, it was like right after I did Dawn of the Dead, like literally right after. And so, and then I kind of been mulling it over for a while, and, you know, we wrote that script, and then Shay and I just rewrote the whole thing again. But yeah, I was inspired mostly on that movie. I was inspired by genre. It's like a super hard genre, you know. Sort of the thesis of the movie is like, how do you make it like take a genre apart, but like serve it at the same time as best you can. It's kind of a fun, for me, it was really fun to sort of deconstruct and reconstruct at the same time. I love that sort of thing. So I think
it's kind of something that hasn't died down either. Like Westerns have kind of gone away in a bit for a while, but comic book movies have stayed around. Zombie genre has stayed around. There's so many different movies. Like, why do you think that's stayed around as much as it has through his cinema?
Look, maybe it's because it's mythological. Maybe it's, you know, our fears never really go away, you know. Could be a combination. And also I think there's a lot of talented people making movies in those genres. And so you end up with like good movies. So like, you know, good movies make other good movies, I think, in a way. So maybe, who knows? Listen, I got to run back up to the edit. It was great to talk to you guys.
Honestly, like, this is
and I'll see you
insane.
again. I think I got 4 left. Now, does it count?
Yeah, well, if you think about it, you've got 1 for every hour of the cut coming out. So you can do like a breakdown if you want. You're trying to be tactical about this.
It's this plus 5 or 4. I couldn't remember.
Well, now that you say it, it's this plus 5. So yeah,
plus 5. This doesn't count as one of the 5.
No, this like lays the foundation just to make sure that everything's all good, and that you'll be happy to come and do another 5. Okay. 6 was that? I heard you say 6. So.
Sorry, I don't know. I thought that was in the original verbal contract. I'll have to re-watch this.
Just for your breakdown.
Before you show off, just want to say thank you so much for coming by. It is an honor to meet you, and we'd be happy to have you on whenever you want to do it. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Zach.
Appreciate it, Zach.
We'll do
Thanks very much.
Got a few things happening, so always good to come on and talk about them.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to have you anytime.
All right, guys. Cheers. Talk to you soon.
All the best, brother. See you later.
You.
Cheers. Yep. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You guys, you
my
sons
God.
of bitches, you guys.
That's great. Because I do talk with Mick a lot, and I was trying to stall you, Lewis, because I didn't want to get your hopes up. So I was trying to, and then Mick was I was trying to talk to Sean O'Connell, but also talking to Mick. I know that's probably a bit bad as well, but it's Zack Snyder and Mick. Thanks very much, man.
It was great to see him get to talk to you. I mean, there's sort of there's a big legacy there. We kind of don't get here without that hashtag, and we don't get the hashtag without you. So it's a very there's a sequence of events there that are quite important. So it's very cool to see you guys on chatting to each other. I thought that was really cool.
Pretty awesome, man. Pretty awesome. And this day, of course, is about the Adam Snyder Tribute Fund.
Absolutely.
That's why all these streams are going ahead, and it's gone up a few hundred there in the last few hours. But what's the big thing that you've taken away from all this, or how well are we doing right now?
I mean, it's doing really well. I don't have the latest numbers, and I mean, I know like Ray had said earlier, I think he said on a tweet that it was 17K away. I don't know if that's accurate or not, because I think we were closer to 70K than that. I think we're very close. I wouldn't be surprised if today it doesn't meet the goal. So I think it should meet the goal today, hopefully. And I mean, with the streams that are coming up with the other guys, with Dave and Chris Wog and the other shows later on. I know Comic Book Debate are on as well. I think there's going to be, and that's kind of getting into the prime time in the US. Sort of, it's a bit early for the event now, in the day. And it was great for Zach to show up there. I think because he's obviously busy. He's probably busy at work. He never stops working. So it was great of him to pop on. But I think if the guys can hit the sweet spot and get a lot of people looking at the streams later on, and everybody starts donating, then I think there's a very good chance that we could hit the goal. So it's great what you guys are doing. It's great what everybody's doing internationally. It's a fantastic idea for a day. So I mean, just well done for everybody.
yeah, everyone working together for a goal more important than all of us is
Absolutely.
important, because we're healthy and we're able to be here right now. Other people, in different situations can't. So it was pretty cool to get Zach to come on, and also Mick, as you as well. You've been involved in a lot of the events.
Yeah.
And how much are you finally? The movie isn't too far along the way. How much are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's so surreal. I mean, sometimes you don't even realize it's gonna be real, and then every now and again, Zach puts out one of those pictures, like the one where he showed picture start, and the one where he shows, hooks us on the IMAX, and you start thinking, no, this is real. This is really happening. I don't know how we're gonna see it. I think that there's gonna be, obviously, we're gonna get to see it. Someone's gonna get the rights here. Everybody wants to sell this movie, I'm sure. So I'm sure we'll get to see it. Hopefully, when the US gets to see it, when everybody gets to see it, I'll watch it multiple times. If it's in the theaters, I'll go multiple times. You know yourself. But to see, the story, to see Batman v Superman get its continuation, and to see the Justice League get the justice, and to see everybody involved, the crew, get the justice that they've had coming for a long time. It's gonna be quite a thing. And you guys, everybody, every fan who's tweeted the hashtag once, donated $1 to AFSP, everybody who's been involved in any way can feel when they sit there and they watch this movie that they're sort of a part of something bigger, collectively, everybody. And I think it's quite a special thing to have happen. And you can see Zach is super happy to have it happen too. I couldn't be happier for those guys. It's amazing.
It's great, yeah. And as you said, it doesn't matter if you were there since 2017, 2018, 2019. It's irrelevant. Every single person, single person, doesn't matter who you are. So
yeah, 100%. I've met loads of people coming on recently, like who are just finding out about this stuff, and they weren't part of the tweet campaigns that got us here, but they're donating to AFSP. They're gonna make all of their friends and family aware of what's happening. They learn the story about kind of what happened with this movie, and everybody. I mean, it's not like this thing is over. This thing's going to continue for some time. The hashtag, I always said that the release of Snyder Cut hashtag is going to live long beyond the release of this movie, because it's sort of a creed. It stands for something. It's going to endure beyond that. It's part of cinema history now at this point in time. So that's something I think you can be probably incredibly proud to be a part of.
Yeah, no, your point's being proven instantly when we see like the air cut and whatnot, and we are seeing the release the something cut becoming just a template for fan movements now. And it's just crazy to think, just one tweet one day saying, yeah, I'd like to see the director's cut of this film, and then all of a sudden we're in a Zoom call with the man himself and talking about how the industry has essentially changed forever for the better, with more directors being able to just make the film that they want. And here we are.
Yeah, I went to see the Godfather Coda recently. I went to the IFI, the Irish Film Institute, which is a place I love. And I saw it there, and again, like maybe 15 people in the theater, which is great because you feel really safe. But did he, I don't know if he got to do that. I don't know if like that's a thing now where directors again, or if that was set in motion a long time ago. But it's great to see more of that happening, where it feels like that the artist is getting more of a say in the final outcome of the product. I know it's very, very late for him, but this kind of train that's sort of rolling now and it's unstoppable is where it's seen as profitable or, worthwhile to give the visionaries and the artists the right to complete their cuts as how they want them. And these streaming services can make a business of this if you think about it, because movies are already sold. Wait, we can get more people who are interested in this movie. Like those special edition DVDs, streaming services is the new way to go with this stuff. So director's cuts, HBO Max or Smart did. Who else can we give a director's cut to on our service? So
yeah.
Hopefully
but even
more. It's great.
You talked about The Godfather there as well. Even Stallone is going back and doing a re-edit of Rocky 4. And he even had a director's cut of Rambo, the newest Rambo, that came out 5 or 6 that came out Last Blood as well. So there is a place for them on the streaming service, and that did quite well on Amazon, the director's cut of that. And now I'm sure the Rocky extended cut will do even better as well, because it's such a big IP. So there is a place for it, definitely. And I think when this movie does come out, maybe March, whenever it's supposed to be, it's going to be a big hit all over the world.
Absolutely. It's hopefully it sets in motion more good things to come,
Absolutely. But we'll have to do something. I don't know what it's going to be like with Code by the time it comes out, but we'll have to try and get a theater in Dublin maybe or somewhere.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I always wanted to do the IFI when I did the Man of Steel thing before. I want to do in the IFI. It's a place I love. It's a non-profit cinema that we have here. It's sort of funded partly by public funds, and it's otherwise funded by the members and the donations. And they're obviously struggling as well, at the moment because we can't get people in, and they don't have like a business model or some gigantic corporation that can fund them afterwards. So I try and support them when I can. I'd love to see it in there. For sure, I think we will, like, once this thing is out and it falls under that license, that umbrella license that's there's going to be exclusivity period.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's a period of time, or hopefully, if Zach starts, like Zach was talking about there, people can put in IMAXs around different parts of the world. We have an IMAX in Dublin, Parnell Street.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's the 143 IMAX that Justice League will be ready for, but I think there's going to be a good opportunity for more of this sort of charity screenings to happen. And Zack Snyder's Justice League being what it is, I think will be a huge driver for that. And people can support, their local organizations as we did before with Aware in Ireland. And I think it can happen. And if it does, we'll have to hook up for a pint or two before or not, or after, one way or the other. When COVID's over, when COVID's over, we'll have to hook up sometime for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Lewis, any other thoughts?
No, I mean, as you said, it doesn't even have to. Obviously, the in-person is the ideal goal, but anytime you want to swing by for a chat on here, you're obviously more than welcome. You're one of the founding pillars of the key pillars of the Snyder Cut community, and it's just like we've had like sparing interactions on Twitter, and then I'm just like, I see your name popped up, and like obviously Sean was like teasing like somebody was going to join. I was like, holy fuck, it's Mick, that's so cool. Like I always wanted to have like a proper actual conversation of just in a casual environment. And there was something that somebody put in the chat. It was just saying that I never felt like I was a part of something that meant so much to so many people, and that's exactly what this is. Just for us to be able to, you join a call and I'm like, oh, it's Mick, all right, let's just have a chat.
Yeah, it's very cool. I've met so many people like through this, and I wasn't like a big Twitter. I'm only on Twitter since 2017, and it was kind of out of the whole, like, I couldn't understand how people reacted to BBS, and I would read a lot of it, and maybe I should, start arguing with some of these people. And then you start realizing that arguing with people is a waste of time. But like, the idea is to really show a better way, I think, in your social media interactions, and to try to see people's point of view and try and meet them halfway, and then maybe they'll come some way with you. Whereas if you just tell someone they're wrong, they're going to get their back up and stuff like this. So it's been really nice. But meeting, like, people like Sean, people like yourself, and lots of other people in the movement, it's kind of become a big family, and like all families, they fight and they argue even times with amongst themselves and stuff like this. But I mean, overall, I think what unites us is there's way more that unites us than divides us. I think what we have in common and what we kind of aim towards together as a community is way beyond any, disagreements people have or differences of opinion and stuff like that. So, I mean, always look towards what are the things that we have in common, what can we work together on. I think, it's always going to be good if we can have that kind of a mindset. So it's great to, I'd love to come on and talk to you guys sometime. I've seen your show a couple of times, saw Fabian Wagner, I'd love to come on and chat with you guys sometime.
Absolutely. You're more than
welcome.
welcome.
Managed to do in just a very short period of time.
Yeah, and this is something I think I've said like twice already. I mean, this show's like almost like 2.5 hours long at this point, but I think I've said it twice. Like, we are only on show number 8, but the respect that people have shown us to come by and watch, to come by and have a chat like yourself, is incredible, and it's a testimony to how great this community is, that they're just instantly like, oh, nice, you guys have got a show? Yeah, I'll check it out and I'll support you. And that's just made this a very rewarding experience.
That goes both ways as well, because like, we show Mick respect, Mick shows us respect.
Yeah.
And that's how these things, like, Zach would have never been on here unless we were respectful people to each other online and stuff like that, so it goes both ways. I think if you are positive, you are respectful to people, it comes back at some point. And for Zach to come on here with us, I'd like to think that's because we're engaging with people in a positive way in the movement, and it's just brilliant. And Mick, we'd love to have you back on for
I mean, you guys are
spoiler edition or something, and talk about Justice League or anything like that. Would be cool.
That's it. You guys are putting out a positive message. You're talking movies. Everybody loves movies. It's a great, during these times when it's what a lot of people really can rely on is films to kind of keep them when they're in their house. Keep them inspired, keep them hopeful, keep them looking forward to the world coming back to the way we remember it. So yeah, I mean, so just keep doing what you guys do, and I think a lot of the friendships that are made in this fandom are lifelong friendships. I've met some guys that I think I'm hopefully are going to be friends for life. So just keep doing what you guys do, and let's hopefully we'll see what happens when this movie comes out. See if there's anything else down the road, and it's an amazing thing to be a part of. I just can't I can't say anything more than that about it. It's incredible. Something I never thought I'd be involved in. Look where we are.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir there, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
listen, I'm going to run down as well because we're going to have a Christmas sort of family movie before kids get back to school tomorrow. So
ooh, good idea.
Perfect.
Got to try and get one in.
Yeah. Thanks, Mix.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
very much for having me on, guys. And listen, talk to you soon. All the best.
Yeah.
Well,
Appreciate
see
it.
you, man.
Bye bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
I got a
Lewis.
just a stream for two people now. Oh, Jesus Christ, man! Like I say it every time. You're an evil bastard, but I fucking love you for what you just pulled, man. Like fucking hell.
Your reaction was cool. I hope you clip that out and put it all over social media. Because
I'll have to
that's
put.
gonna be
I
fun.
mean, this is like 2.5 hours long, so the description's just going to be full of timestamps because I know there'll be people who go on and go, "Where's Zach? Where's Zach? I got to see Zach." But like
one of my friends that ascended agent, I just seen him. He put up a tweet. He goes, "I leave the stream for 10 minutes, and Zack Snyder shows up." What the fuck?
I mean, I'll throw out an apology. It took me like 5 minutes to compose myself and sort out the stream overlay. I was gonna have to do like another crop job and like and all that shit. I was just like, fuck it. I just took another capture of the entire Zoom call and then chucked it on there. It's just like trying to compose myself.
Because I was like, Lewis, how many people can you put onto the stream here? You're like, how many people are joining? Well, it might be one more.
And that's the thing. I think it was just after Zach left. I just saw on my Twitter mentions. I was like, what the hell? Why is Sean messaging me? And it says we should go longer. Someone might join. And I'm like, oh man, if I had seen that like before he had joined, I would have lost my goddamn. I would be like, we wouldn't have been able to talk normally. I'd be like, who's joining? Who is joining this fucking call?
Because I didn't want to say it on the stream in case people think, oh, he's only saying that so people stay and watch the stream. But
yeah,
I didn't want to say it like too much because it might not have happened. But Mick, thanks very much.
Yeah, not holy shit. Well, my thanks go to you, who then go to Mick, who then go to Zach. Like, I mean, just that's fucking insane. And
that's cool. We'll have to clip out that part and put it up on the channel as well, and so people can watch that because that'd be cool for people to just check that out. They don't watch the 2.5 hours.
That was the thing. Like, I remember when you first messaged me, like, yeah, we're gonna go at 7. I'm like, all right, that's cool, because then if Sean's on, we don't want to take too much of his time. We'll go for an hour. Then we're at 8, and then I can just I can unwind. Because when I get to the end of one of these streams, I'm like, fucking hell. Like, talking for an hour or so it's a first world problem, but it's a lot more strenuous than you think. And then we get to like an hour and a half, and you've been like teasing a little bit, and then just like kind of nothing happened, and then I was just like, okay, maybe we should start wrapping it up, and then all of a sudden, fucking start screaming.
I was trying to find more stuff to talk about. I was like, so what did you eat for breakfast? I'm interested.
But Jesus Christ, like, yeah, I mean,
do you want to know how many minutes I found out this was a possibility into the Sean O'Connell interview?
Go for it.
25 minutes into it.
So you're having to keep a level head for an hour and over an hour.
Yeah, and keep the conversation going. And
I would have just if it was in the back of my mind, I'd just be like as you said, Sean. Hang on, let me just reply. Your favorite type of dog? I gotta reply to this, and just Jesus, man, like I wouldn't have been. Hey man, I fucking hell, like. I have to go and explain to my family when we end this show that I wasn't being like violently murdered in here because it's all the warning signs are bad.
That was cool. That was pretty awesome.
And that was just insane. Thank you.
Director of Watchmen, director of Batman v Superman, the director of Man of Steel, the director of 300, the director of Dawn of the Dead on our fucking stream, just talking to us like he's one of the boys.
Yeah, that was the thing. It wasn't a case of just like. I mean, I might have freaked out a tiny bit at the start, but it was just like, all right, how are you, man? Oh, I'm all right. That's it.
I was just at the back there, just editing Steppenwolf there.
Yeah, I was just like finishing off the like a huge multi-$100 billion blockbuster movie that you've been obsessing about for a couple of years. But I mean, the most important, one of the best things about that is it comes full circle for you. And I know that Mick pointed that out. It's from being the first person to tweet that hashtag to then sitting here and just like, hey, it's Zack Snyder, let's have a chat. And like, fuck me, dude.
Yeah, it's cool, but like as I said, as I've always said, it took absolutely everybody. But to have Zack Snyder there for when a movie I got to see, and I was told in 2017 I was going to see a Zack Snyder movie, and then I knew that was not a Zack Snyder's movie, and then people chatting online, and then a few days later, I tweet that out, and I'm not the person who made everything happen, but I just tweeted out, and I think if you put things out into the universe, they'll come back. If you're positive about it, if you have a good outlook in life, they'll come back to you in some way.
Yeah.
And I had a belief that that would happen. If you put it out into the universe, it would come back, and it's coming out in March. So it's a good perspective to have on life altogether.
Absolutely. And it's kind of emblematic of this community as a whole, of just being relentless in pushing to get something that, you know, should have been given in the first place. And it's not a case of being entitled or kind of, well, entitled is the only word for it. It's not a case of that. It's a case of saying, this was something that was promised. This was something that we wanted. This was something that we were, by any measure, going to get, and were, you know, not told otherwise. And then to find out at the last minute that it wasn't just a case of, oh, it's some tweaks here and there, but, you know, a fundamentally entirely different film. So then say, well, hang on, you know, I didn't sign up for that. I didn't, you know, this isn't what I wanted to see. This isn't what, you know, I've paid my ticket to see. This isn't any of that. To then go from that to then just saying, hey, you know, I'd love it if this cut came out. I'll tweet this. And then just picking up steam and people coming together to the point where it's just this entire, you know, mini universe inside the Twitter sphere, to then being at this point where we're like, oh, hey, you know, we've got a bunch of fucking people watching us have a chat with Zack Snyder. Like, I mean, this is crazy. Go back like a couple months. I think it was like halfway through the summer, and I get a message saying, hey, you know, do you maybe want to start doing a show or something like that? I'm like, you know, that'd be a pretty fucking cool idea. And then 8 episodes in, Jesus, man.
Like, and like, probably people are like, why are these two dickheads still talking? Zack Snyder's gone. But no, but the reason I did message you, and like, this is what I'm talking about: positive energy, positive things in life. I had a good engagement with you online through social media. Respectful. We talked about movies. Cool. Mick the same.
Yeah.
I've known him for a few years now. We've just talked about Zack Snyder's Justice League and different things like that. And that's why I wanted to work with, like, I'm doing stuff with Krypton Cage as well on another channel, on the Real Emotion channel.
Yeah.
I do the movie buffs here with you. I do my own thing. I talk to people online on Instagram and stuff. So I think it's just about, when people are respectful towards you, you'll be respectful towards them, and then you can do great things. And that's what this whole community has done, is some great things. And today is a big example of that, for all the streams going on, the money trying to be raised. Zack being a fans director by coming on a stream of two guys who only started 7 episodes ago.
Yeah,
like,
we're just two fucking clueless guys who are just talking about movies, and like, that's it, you know? For him to then recognize just that this is a community that has tried to do so and has done so much. But it is, as you say, it is that kind of like symbiotic relationship. This doesn't work without him, and it doesn't work without the community. And he is doing everything in his power to maintain that. And it's just, you don't see that from anyone else.
Yeah, I know the other streams were going on as well. We didn't mean to overshadow you. We had Zack Snyder on, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, we're loud.
We had Sean O'Connell, the author. He was pretty cool. We had the author of the release of the Snyder Cut book, and then we had the director of the release of the Snyder Cut.
I mean, that's crazy. I like, honestly, like, just going into the stream, it's like, oh, this is really fucking cool. Like, you know, talking to Sean and his book and documenting something I've been a part of for so long. I'm just like, okay, eventually you're going to need to wrap it up. Like, no,
Mick as well.
Yeah, I can't. I'm going to be brutally honest, you guys. I've been needing to pee for like 2 hours. And then you just like, I wonder if Sean's going to wind this down at any point. And then all of a sudden, oh, all right, I can wait. I can wait.
You're like in your head, Sean must be pretty lonely. He's keeping everybody on this stream. He must have nobody to talk to. I feel bad for Sean, so I'm going to stay here and I'm going to entertain his bullshit.
Oh man, no, it's just Jesus, man. Fuck me, like.
But it's cool. We talked about the logo with Zack, the Stone Quarry logo, and he said that's going to be popping up on a lot more animated stuff as well coming up. So that sounds like that's going to be pretty soon. He said he loves Wonder Woman. He thinks it's a very inspiring movie, and he thinks it's a movie that we all kind of need right now.
Yeah.
I even got a plug for The Walking Dead, which I'm pretty proud of.
Yeah.
Big zombie fan. So he even talked about the genre of that, and and he talked about the community and how proud he is of everyone and stuff like that. And yeah, he didn't want to give too much away for the movie itself, but that's understandable.
Yeah, well, we learned exclusively on the Movie Buffs that he's working on the movie right now. So you're not going to get that kind of information anywhere else, I think you'll find.
Sean O'Connell write an article right now, put it on CinemaBlend.
You know, you may have seen the Movie Buffs episode 8 floating around online, where some groundbreaking news was just released. You know, that's, and they have to attribute us at the end of it. Say, you know, that was us.
Yeah, awesome. It was pretty cool, man. So should we give everyone else their stream time now?
Yeah, I think we probably should. I think other people probably deserve to have their own streams. I was like, Sean, we'll go for an hour, right? Because then the Spanish stream is on at 8. He was like, yeah, we don't want to take up too much of Sean's time. 2.5 hours later.
Yeah.
Oh,
but,
well,
so Zach is going to be back on later with Dave the Film Junkie and Chris Wan, so that should be pretty good.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if anyone else is popping up. Cast members surprise round. I don't know.
I think I know the Lightcast has a surprise guest, but didn't give anything away. Sean O'Connell was obviously on our show and For Nerds. I think I want to say Ray Fisher was doing a second show. I can't remember which one.
Maybe.
I'm fairly sure I saw 2 tweets for stuff that he was going to be
plus
on.
all the amazing people in the community as well are on streams.
That is obviously just as important. Check out everyone else's streams. I mean, we had just one of like 5 international streams, and then there's like 15 North American ones. And I think as I think it was Mick pointed out, is that we're then kind of I just realized the hashtag is still pointing your social media is still pointing to Mick's social media. This is not Mick. This is an imposter.
Yeah, we're Irish. It doesn't matter.
I just changed that to Sean.
I don't care who I am now because I was on a stream with Zack Snyder. So.
Yeah, that's the goal accomplished right there.
That's my new cover. That's my new cover photo on Twitter. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the thing now that I have to. I was wondering, like, at any one point, do you reckon I could just go, "Hey Zach, do you want to just like get in for a picture?" And I'm like, I just like screenshot the fucking stream at the end of it. It's fine.
Don't ask a stupid question.
Zach, can I have your autograph? I've just got a piece of pen and paper here. Can you please sign it? It's like telling me
Zach,
how to draw his own signature.
Zach, can you bring your phone down to what you're editing right now? Can you show me the movie?
I mean, yeah. I think we do have to wrap it there. But thank you guys so much. By all means, just because we had Zach on, this does not mean this is the end of the movie bus. But I'd be happy if it was. We're gonna keep going. For those of you guys who maybe just tuned in for the first time, this dynamic that you saw after Zach is like most of it, you know, just us having a good old chat, talking about movies and TV shows and all the good news that, you know, that everyone cares about to help take your mind off some of the bad shit. But yeah, every now and again we have a cool guest. Sometimes they're a director of photography, sometimes they're a movie director, you know, sometimes they're a really respected member of the community. I don't know, it's just these people keep coming on our show. I don't know why.
Because we're respectful and we put positive vibes out.
True.
That's why.
True.
But yeah, guys, go to the donation link, the Adam Snyder Fund. Put as much money there as you can. Go to the other streams, check those out. Zach will be back on later on the Film Junkie channel. Also, guys, if you like the content here, we might have more guests in the future. Hit the subscribe button, of course. And I hope you have a good day. And always do something that makes you happy.
Yes,
so,
that's 100% it. We will fade out with some lovely, lovely music. And yeah, I mean, guys, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate your time. And we will see you when we see you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.